to know. From masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 842, Sinners.
Nothing.
Oh, I did it with a Z.
Perfect.
Oh, Sinners.
Yeah, so that's
It's like the movie was done in 2000.
it's hard to come up with to incorrectly say the name of the movie when it's only one word.
Correct.
They just don't give me a lot to work with, and so
It's tough.
And if I say, I could just say like The Sinners, but
That's a
then
whole different
people
movie.
might think I actually got it wrong,
Right.
Because it's how it all started.
I'm sure there
it
was
was
a movie
like
called The Sinners.
The Sinners.
it was like a Fast and Furious movie, and I said The Fast.
Fast
and no, it's Fast and the Furious. The is only on the second. I don't know.
Which is the 19th installment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right,
Like
right,
the-
right.
The fastest furiousness.
The naming mechanism on that
Fastest and the
franchise
Furiousness.
is just ridiculous.
But don't worry, with Fast 11, they're going back to their roots, Tom.
They're stealing DVD players.
Yep.
It's all
Stealing Laserdisc players.
all MP3 players.
It's all they're stealing.
Just
Nothing but
Zunes.
Zunes. Nothing but Zunes.
I like to think Dom's character's so out of touch that he's like, we're going for the big heist.
Yeah,
MP3
like the other,
players.
other characters are like, what?
one final score and we're done.
Yeah.
And then,
Betamax players
Yeah.
of the future.
then at the end, it's like nothing but carburetors.
Yeah, right.
It's all fuel injectors now.
Physical
love-
media.
You once had sex with your car. You should know this.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
just,
boy.
Finn is all about physical media.
Yeah.
That's all
Physical
it is.
media is the future, guys.
Right.
We're going to be able to retire on this one.
He's like, we'll just steal
Hey.
Netflix.
If vinyl can make a comeback,
That's true.
Hey.
I don't
Yeah.
know why VHS tapes.
That is true.
cannot.
My kid
Oh,
buys
they already
vinyl
have.
all the time.
They have.
She wanted to go to Vintage Vinyl, and I was just kind of like, and do what? And she's like, well, I want to buy some records. I go, what?
What
Okay,
what
like
age
we
are
can.
you?
Yeah.
What am I
that's
paying
fine.
$10 a month for your Spotify? for? That's ridiculous.
I guess we're buying Megan Thee Stallion on vinyl. I don't know how that's gonna sound, but
Yeah,
all right.
there's genius too because records are like $40 up.
Oh,
I
I'm
mean,
well
you know
aware.
more than
Yeah.
anyone, but like all the different collector's editions. Like I wanted to buy the Us, the soundtrack for Us. I saw it in the
Yeah.
store and used. It was like $45. I don't know if it was like 60 new or whatever. I'm like, oh, it looks so cool, and I love that score. But I'm like, man,
I've got the Carpenter.
I was going to say, is that like, because the funny thing with a lot of the scores I've noticed is like, you can get them in some stores, but I noticed that companies like Mondo.
These
and-
were through Sacred Bones.
Okay, and even
Yeah,
them,
yeah,
like
yeah.
they're putting out.
oh yeah, and this was a half price book, so it was someone traded it in. It
Right.
wasn't, but yeah, I love all those different versions. But man, like $50 a pop.
When they started when they
Adds
started
up.
pumping out there was the Halloween Ends sound like not ends but like the Halloween soundtracks
Yeah.
that had like different the records weren't black like
Yeah.
they had like
I've got a
blood and
couple
stuff
colored
like-
vinyl.
yeah colored
Yeah.
vinyl and then that he put out his like unreleased themes
Okay.
so it's
Yeah.
all these different tracks that he never released.
Is the Halloween Kills soundtrack just Corey doing all the different like
This is that
That's
guy's
all it is.
podcast.
It's just that yeah right
Yeah,
It's-
it's just-
yeah he's actually he was like Theo Vaughn.
Dude, if they had a B-side or something of that guy actually doing a full episode
Actually,
of the podcast,
you know what would be
that would
cool?
be fun.
Now that you've said that, is the B-side is the radio station in Haddonfield.
Yeah.
Like that would be cool.
Wouldn't that be
would
really
cool.
fun
That
to-
would be cool,
yeah.
They didn't do that.
Sorry, that's what I was thinking even more than the podcast. I was actually thinking the
If they
radio
did
guy.
that,
If they
that would
did
be
the
cool.
I
Just with
could.
his
I know people are. I can never imagine just sitting down and listening to a film score.
Really?
I like having it on
Yeah.
the background
It is
of stuff.
I will agree with you on that. I mean, I do have some, but it's kind of more so just for like collector's purposes. Like there was an instance years ago when I was working at Vintage Vinyl and somebody sold back like all of it might have been again like Mondo, but it was like Terminator, Christine, and Exorcist, and I was like, God damn it. All right. And it was like 2 days before Halloween. So I was just
Yeah.
like, why would you do this to me? And so I've just got them now kind of just, you know,
Yeah.
for
Same.
Yep. collector's purposes.
There's some cool ones though. Like I remember even listening through the Avengers of all things, but like those sound scores are really
Especially
good. Like
those
for
horror, like, I mean, The Fog was another one. I had that one, those 70s ones.
It's all
are-
John Carpenter,
there's some
baby.
really cool stuff. Yeah.
I had the Superman
I do too.
soundtrack
Yeah.
when I was a kid.
I know that one.
And I would put it on, listen to the main one.
Call it a
Okay,
day.
we're
Right,
done.
comics.
You don't.
Yeah, I'm good.
You don't listen to the love theme where Lois Lane recites a poem.
Yeah.
Like while they're flying.
Or for Star Wars, the Princess Leia theme at all or anything. You don't go too deep
That's
on
my
that.
pet peeve. I hate it when people talk in songs. Hate it.
Like spoken word.
Yeah. Can't stand it.
Well, no Boys to Men for you, Tom.
No, it's a song. Get to sing it.
No.
What are we doing? Like the
These two worlds should never meet.
no, no. Like I paid for a song. Like,
Sing
you-
it.
You
Oh,
keep
boy.
that to yourself.
I don't want to ask your opinion on rap.
That's not talking.
That's true.
I was going to say, funny, we're speaking about music with this because
Yeah.
this film is.
Oh man.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, hate talking. And the Monkees have a song called "The Day We Fell in Love," and it's just Davey like
Oh, boy.
talking over music, like pretending he's talking. It's totally for like the 10-year-old girls that bought the
Sure.
record at the time, and he's just like, "I remember the day we met." It's just so bad. It's like like Monkees fans are like, "This
is
is
cringe."
the worst Monkey song ever," and they are correct. So I also hate it when bands say their own name in a song. I don't like that.
Hey, we're
That's different.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
because
I
it's-
knew where you were going with that one.
No, I
just
knew
got
someone would
that.
go there too, and that's
ready.
different because for two reasons. One, it's the theme song to a television
Okay.
show.
Okay.
Right? So I will allow it. Two, they never sing it. Like when they do a concert, they never sing the theme.
They never.
You never see them sing.
That was never
singing
their
the
opening
theme.
song.
No, like they might play an instrumental version as they took the stage or as they left the stage. But the Monkees never
They were
come
just
on
monkeying
stage.
around.
Yeah, people
saying,
say that.
Hey, we're the Monkees. So
Interesting.
But,
That's interesting. They never did
Huh.
it.
but like you had a TV show, you got to have a theme song to your TV show. Like so, make sense. But like I said, you never see the Monkees singing
Look at Tom moving
There.
the theme to the
moving
Monkees.
moving the goalposts
No,
for
it's-
his favorite band.
It's different.
It's like,
Very
yeah.
different.
And this is the point where Jeff Goldblum is going, "Hello, will there be any Sinners discussion on your Sinners podcast?"
Nope.
Well, let's go around the table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
This is Kevin.
And this is Tom, and joining us once again is Orlandez. Hey.
Yes, glad to be here,
back.
especially
Glad to
for this
have
film. I was just saying earlier when I got here, I kind of went into this a bit blind. I
Yeah.
mean, I knew about Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, of course, like most of the actors. But
Right.
yeah, this story was, I was already saying I probably will be seeing it again in about 3 or 4 hours.
That says a
And I
lot.
already saw it 12 hours ago, literally. So,
Well, before we dig into all that shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you are there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review about how we take so long to talk about the movie. That's okay.
Or how much we whine.
We're
Either
used to
one.
it.
We want that in YouTube comments though, because those boost the
Yeah,
algorithm.
right,
So make
right.
sure that those complaints go to
For
YouTube.
sure, yeah. And then don't forget you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/real spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. The group is called the League of Show Sharers because we are hoping you will share an episode. People who were kind enough to share an episode last week include Tom Dowdy, Ralph Tribble, Gabriel Lugo, Richard Krotzer, Phil Timon, Chris Magic Man, Tammy Lynn Powers Betts, Travis Tewitt, Julianne Jordan, Tyler Ward, Aaron Kyleman, Heather Sachs, Kay Margit, Edit Photo Gamer, Mike and Oscar, Ryan Terry, Matt Neglia, Colby Mack, Ronnie Castle, In Session Film, Nostalgia Cast, James Enstall, and Geek to Me Radio. Don't forget you can watch all of these over on YouTube at youtube.com/@RealSpoilers.
There you go.
And
Short and sweet.
yes. And finally, don't forget we have a Patreon. If you have $5 burning a hole in your pocket, we would like to widen that hole.
We would.
And
By
you-
$5.
By
But
$5.
we are not responsible for holes in pockets. We will not replace pants.
And
disclaimer, very
Yeah,
important.
right.
you can do all of that over at patreon.com/realspoilers, where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you extra.
Yeah, we've got episodes for the 50th anniversary of SNL. We've got episodes on the
Wayne's
Blues
World.
Brothers,
Blues
Wayne's
Brothers.
World 1 and 2. We just recorded Coneheads. I guess we're doing It's Pat and Stuart Saves His
I
Family.
mean,
I am.
in for a dime, in for a dollar.
I
I
mean,
used
if
to
we're
watch
gonna-
It's Pat on VHS.
I
all
gotta
the
tell
time.
you, I did a podcast with Binge Movies a while ago about the films of Brian De Palma.
Yeah.
And
Did he direct It's Pat? No, I'm just-
No,
I
but
was
he,
about
but,
to
he
say,
did, but he
imagine.
did direct like Dress to Kill,
Okay.
which is a very problematic movie now.
I can't
Like,
imagine It's Pat holds up.
It doesn't.
It didn't.
It didn't hold up then.
Holds up implied it ever.
But it was like
Right.
he
The
gave
pants
me,
still
he
do.
gave me the list of movies, and I was like, thank God, Dress to Kill is not on here because I have no interest in discussing the world of that movie where Michael Caine dresses up like a woman and starts murdering people, and I was like, oh no. And then when I forgot that It's Pat, I was like, ah, damn it! Like I get ready to get
Good luck.
canceled, I guess.
Fun fact, you know who was a script doctor on It's Pat?
Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Does
Which
it all.
explains the existence of
Julia Sweeney.
Julia Sweeney in the last 3 seconds of
Yep.
Pulp Fiction.
Oh, whoa.
Because I remember at the time being like, why
Why the
Julia
hell is she
Sweeney
in here?
this?
I was wondering about the fascination of Pat's feet, and now it all makes sense.
Yeah, he wanted to call it It's Feet.
That's true.
Yeah. So anyway, there's all that. Let's dig into the movie du jour at long last.
Man, I gotta tell you,
It's Sinners
it is. It's with a Z.
with a Z. And both. It's ITZ.
We've talked about the new
Class of filmmakers.
class of filmmakers. Yeah, thank you. And
You're welcome.
Ryan Coogler is one of those guys that I feel like, with Fruitvale Station, that's kind of an indie darling, right? And
Yeah,
then
That's
he,
what put him on the map.
Yeah.
it's
that was-
true,
yeah.
but it was an independent film.
Oh, right,
Like, it was
our
smaller
house.
budget.
Yeah.
Then he
I think it
kicks-
put both him and Michael B. Jordan
Right.
on the map. Like Michael B. Jordan was already very successful, but
Yeah.
he was a TV
Right.
actor.
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
from
Even
Friday
though
Night Lights
he-
and stuff.
He was on The Wire.
And The Wire.
Yeah.
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 Well, I guess what Hardball he did. I don't know if that was his first movie as a child,
That's
but
funny.
like child actor.
Right.
But
yeah.
that's where they both took off.
Yeah,
Really.
And then he comes out and does what is arguably the most important Marvel film that they ever did in Black Panther.
Yeah.
And just absolutely levels up his game to like it's sometimes when the Marvel people would pluck people out, right? There's a gradual progression of their career. Ryan Coogler went from like single A ball to the majors and didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then he has to rework an entire movie because Chadwick Boseman passes away, and he makes that movie work. Like Black Panther 2
Yeah.
works. It may not be one of the best, but given what he had to work with,
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was solid.
it's very good.
Yeah.
Then
Better than the Eternals, I'll tell you that.
easily better
Yeah.
than the Eternals. Million times over. Eternals is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, there'd have to be something wrong with someone
Yeah,
psychologically.
right. To
enjoy
enjoy
a
both
movie.
Man of Steel and the Eternals.
I'm gonna need the number of
psychopath.
Joe's therapists.
It's my therapist. It's the other guy. It's the guy that prescribes
Your
the meds.
psychologist?
Yeah, the
Okay.
Psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist.
Psychologists can't prescribe medicine.
It's the one that gives me.
Psychiatrists
It's the one that gives me the meds.
And you can remember that because on the Bob Newhart show, they wanted him to be a psychiatrist, and he said, psychiatrists deal with people who have real problems. He's like, the show's not funny if they have real problems. He's like, make me a
That's good.
psychologist.
Yeah, I'll be all right.
There's just people just having trouble making their way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Psychologist is the one you talked about your mom.
That's true. Psychiatrist is like, here's the pills to help you deal with your mother.
Yes. Wasn't there also, not to go off completely a tangent here, but wasn't there a line
we
on
do.
the Last of Us last week, the season premiere about that?
About the meds.
Like psychiatrists. And,
Oh, I don't know.
and- yeah.
I-
Did Tom steal a line about Bob Newhart and psychiatry from
I
The
think
Last of
maybe
Us?
The
I
Last
have
of
not
Us-
watched season 2 yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so-
Well, yeah. No. Spoilers.
What part was
Oh,
it in?
It was Captain O'Hara's character.
being
and
a-
she's Carol or something,
Yeah.
I think, and she says that to Joel.
Man, that was a good scene. She was
Yeah.
really good in that. Did you watch it?
No, I've never watched the show.
Oh,
And I
good.
gave
Here's
you a
the-
copy of the game
That's
for your
that's
daughter
why
to play.
I don't watch the show.
Yeah.
It's like I just finished Last of Us 2, so it's like,
and see, what's funny is I had never even played the game. I just
Oh,
started
man, the
watching
games
it,
are
and I
so
was just
good.
They
like,
do a great job
This is
with
great.
it. It's
Yeah.
a very good adaptation. I'm curious to see where it goes. I won't say
from
anything
here.
if you haven't played the game,
Yes.
but yeah.
So then he's got the credit, right? He's got the credit in Hollywood where he can kind of do whatever he wants.
Would you call it a blank check?
I would call it a blank check. I mean, yes, I absolutely would.
That's a good analogy.
This is
yeah.
I mean, guys, this isn't as big as like a blank check movie, but it's still
It's
like you get
pretty
the
big.
actors and
It's a pretty
the
big movie.
the amount of freedom I feel
Right.
like that he had in this.
For
is-
sure.
Given what the mainstream studio system normally
Yes.
allows
Yes.
black films to do,
Right.
I think maybe he didn't get a black check.
what?
A blank check in terms
I'm out of here.
maybe he didn't get a blank check in terms of money, but
Oh, you mean like
far as
creativity?
creative
they said,
but
expression.
go for it.
creative freedom.
because I was gonna say, I mean,
Yeah.
if his third film is Black Panther for a Marvel movie, you know, what I mean, he already got a huge budget. on the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
But
that's
still,
true.
for this type of movie where he gets to tell the story he wants to tell with $100 million,
Yeah.
and this cast, it's like, yeah,
And it's
for sure.
And then he comes out and does this original property. I mean, he's kind of created his own universe in this. It is unbelievable. This is one of the flicks I could not wait to see when I saw it announced.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, they spoiled it, and it's
well,
such
don't
a
you wish you didn't
it's
know?
su-
Don't you-
it's such a dumb move. You've got Michael B. Jordan, who is a massive star. You've got Ryan Coogler, who is a draw. If you can just work around the plot of this, where it's just like it's two brothers building a juke joint in their hometown.
But I'm telling you, Joe, see, people don't go to the
People
theaters
don't go to
anymore.
movie for that.
This is not
Yes.
IP.
Yeah.
And people don't go to the theater. So you know what they'll say? They'll say, "Oh, I like Michael B. Jordan. I'll watch it on Netflix in 4 weeks."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
But
they,
you think
they
you
have
think
to
that-
have
you think
something
the-
to draw you in.
I mean, if you're listening to this, you already know. You think the vampires are the draw?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
I
thing that
do.
makes this movie
okay.
different
because
than a
other
period
than that,
piece.
it's just a
It is
period.
like a Netflix.
It's just to eat your vegetables. Here's what it's like in Jim Crow America, and a
Yeah.
lot of people,
Right. People would think that's a
especially a
history
lot of
lesson.
white people,
Yeah.
are going to be like,
nah.
Wait until the end, bruh.
yeah,
So and like so for us, for people that see a movie every week, you know, and people that love movies, you're gonna go see it because you're like, oh, I love Ryan Coogler, I love Michael B. Jordan, and
Yeah.
Delroy Lindo, and it looks interesting, right?
He's so
But-
good.
was
He's so
amazing.
great.
Oh yeah, I told Ryan, I said, go watch Defy Bloods. He hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was so good. That's a Netflix movie. That's like
He's great even in like what's the
Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Delroy
mean,
Lindo's always good.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was telling again my girlfriend after I left last night about actors and in the cast and things that are in it, and I've introduced her, me being a somewhat film buff, if you will, and we've been dating for like a couple of years, and she likes her DVD collection is like She's the Man and
Oh, my wife.
Sisters a Hood of the Traveling Pants, and meanwhile I've got Suspiria and
you can just look at the shelf and all the pink and pastel
white and pink, yeah.
I have a
covers.
Criterion collection that's separated.
My wife's the same way. She loves She's the Man.
Yes.
White Chicks is another one. Did your
Yes.
girlfriend ever read White Chicks for some reason? I'm like, I never watched that movie, but
her and her two sisters, they love it.
yeah,
But-
right. And so it's like it's so funny the differences.
But when we were dating, I just and still I try to introduce her to some things and kind of feel it out. I'm like, maybe Taxi Driver's not the way to go with her. But introducing her to things like Spike Lee classics and
Yeah.
such. And I was telling her, I was like, Delroy Lindo is just amazing in this. And she's like, who's that again? I was like, well, remember when we watched Crooklyn? Kind of, sort of. It's like, yeah, he was the father in that. Malcolm X, he was the guy kind of when Malcolm X was starting off and was like the hustler, and then when he revisits him again later and he's like, strung out on drugs, and he's, basically he doesn't have that lifestyle anymore. But I mean, we're talking Malcolm X was
90
30 years,
30, yeah,
plus
it's gotta be
years
30,
ago.
yeah, 93.
And
I
the
think.
guy still
93, yeah.
hasn't missed a step,
No,
Yeah,
he's
for
still
sure.
so good.
Has she seen Defy Bloods?
No, I don't.
That
know.
is such a good
I
movie
know,
with
that was
the,
one I
the whole
remember
heist
watching.
element and stuff. And God, the cinematography in that movie. I
Was that
remember
on
the club
Netflix?
when they're like, on the,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
watching that
That's
during
wild.
remember in the
pandemic.
club
Yeah,
when there's
yeah,
like
yeah.
that dolly shot and they're going through the club and
Yeah.
all that stuff. Like, oh my gosh,
It's so good.
And the other guy in that, I can't remember, Isaiah Whitlock. Yeah,
Yeah.
that whole cast. Was
Oh,
just
that cast is
great.
amazing.
Yeah.
Of the friends, and just the idea of like that they're all back together. And I won't spoil it for people that
Yeah.
haven't seen it, but like the reason why they get back together and have to go on one last mission together. And oh man,
So
it's
good.
But yeah, this movie
This is
is so cool.
is a sneaky summer blockbuster. Like that's kind of
I
what this
agree.
is. It's not summertime yet, but if you were to slot this into a summer release, this absolutely works.
I
in
think they were
the
smart
same
to
way
release
that I
this
think
in this-
Jaws
Yeah.
was a sneaky
Well, because
summer blockbuster.
I think this movie would get drowned out by movies like the Thunderbolts and things that are coming out, right?
yeah.
And they released it right in this slot before. It's like, kicking off summer, not
Was
quite.
your theater packed?
Unfortunately, it was, and
Yeah.
thank you to the person playing solitaire during the movie
Where'd you see it?
next to me. I had to go to AMC because I know from now on, if I have to go see a movie at midnight, I don't care. I'm going to Alamo because seriously, every time I go, I have a terrible experience.
And that's where I went was Alamo, and I would say it was it was decently. It was a decent crowd.
Yeah,
I mean,
mine
it was
was-
last night, Saturday
I
night.
picked
mine was sold out.
I picked the back right corner, so like when I go to a theater that I think is going to
What
be
an
more crowded, and it's not an
awkward
Alamo
spot.
Well, yeah, but you have no one behind you, no one to the right of you, right? So
guess
I'm
that's
trying
true.
to minimize, but there's
Yeah.
someone right next to me. The credits start going, like previews are over, phone at full brightness pops on to play solitaire,
Oh
and I'm
my
like,
God.
what
What are you doing?
doing?
Tickets are $20.
Yeah.
I mean, why are you here? And they were with a friend, and I'm like, if your friend invites you to a movie, go watch the movie or whatever, or stay home and watch Netflix and scroll your phone.
Right.
But like, I don't know, it was just so frustrating. And then they were also coughing the entire time, and then getting cough drops crinkling out of their purse, and I'm just like, this is ridiculous.
I will say with
I almost
my,
left. I really
Did
was
you really?
like, I'm like, well, 'cause I'm here, so I'm like, I won't. But
Right.
like,
I think the last movie I may have seen at 12. Geez, and this is gonna date it. Might have been like Joker.
yeah, I don't
That's
blame
dang.
you.
Yeah,
It's
been
a last resort. Dude.
Yeah.
There's definitely a picture of like it was The Force Awakens. Like I was sitting in line and I
yeah.
just like took a picture of my feet and just
Oh,
showing
for QT?
for QT.
Okay.
Just like showing I was sitting down and it was like a shot of everybody in line for Force Awakens,
Yeah.
and like the line was ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
But I think that may have been one of the last times
Yeah.
that I
That would
went
have
to a
been like
a
10
midnight-
years ago
yeah.
or so.
Theaters
probably.
around here are starting to do this weird thing where the times are like 3:30 or 6, right? And I want to go to see a movie like after I get Owen from school and like my
Yeah.
mom comes over to watch him. I want to go at 4:30, but it's like 3:30 or 6, and 6 is late for him to be up past bedtime. But like I can't get him early. I'm not going to get him early or whatever. I still have to work, so it's like it sucks that this
6
4:30
p.m. is like the sweet spot for me because that means I can
Okay.
sleep during the day.
Yeah.
And then like go.
But they used to
right
have
away.
rush hour 4:30,
Oh, yeah,
4:45
they did.
showtimes, right? But now, I mean, the last movie and this one, both of them, I looked for 4:30, and there was like the one showtime I could go to of all the theaters: B&B, AMC, Alamo, Marcus.
I guess they probably did get rid of a rush hour.
It's like
show.
for whatever reason they don't. I don't know if people just
That's
stopped
what my
going to
grandparents
it, but-
went to every
Yeah.
week.
I used to always go to rush hour when I was a kid. It would be after school and go hit the rush hour. It was $8 or whatever,
Yep,
and
go to the Kenrick.
but anyway, so it's like, man, I got stuck on that, and I really told Katie, I'm like, I'm either buying extra seats next to me, or I'm going to
the
Alamo.
the one thing with and this
Just
isn't
put it in your cart, but don't actually buy it.
Oh, just like reserve it right before the.
Oh, that's
Man.
brilliant.
That's funny.
That's
I'm
so
coming through
good.
with
Somebody works in the
wisdom.
ticketing industry.
But it reboots every 8 minutes. I would have to continually add it.
It
Well,
could be worth it.
The
Yeah.
one thing I'll say about my audience, they were great, but God, this guy is gonna totally regret it. I had one guy that was next to me, and he pulled what you never do during a Marvel film.
Did he
And
leave?
We'll talk about it later.
Oh,
but
okay,
he
yeah.
left right when those credits started. I was
No.
like, the house lights haven't even come up yet. I mean, he was gone.
This
It
was
is-
an interesting.
I'd say about a third to half of my audience left when the credits started, and I was just like, I feel like I
Some
know
things-
there's more.
Yeah.
Like and there's a lot.
There's a
and
lot.
this was not a
It's a
post
nice
credits.
epilogue.
I mean, this was it was more of
Yeah.
an epilogue. It was a whole scene. It was not a quick thing. I mean, it was.
We'll
like,
get into that, but it to me it opens the door if Ryan Coogler wants to continue
be interesting.
in this
Thank
world.
you.
In
I
the-
was
if he
thinking
wants to,
this.
if
Yes.
he wants to continue in this world, he has the option to do
Oh,
so.
that's Sinners with a 2 at the end.
correct.
That's what it is.
Yes, that's exactly
Yep.
what it is. Yeah. So this movie, it's got
2 at the beginning and
two
the
at the
end.
yeah, right. It's Michael B. Jordan, and he's playing a dual role, which we don't see very often anymore. He's Smoke and Stack, and they're these two twin brothers who it sounds like they went to war.
I like how they gave him a red hat and blue
Hey,
hat.
yeah.
I appreciate.
I know,
yeah.
I do too. Because I'm like, how do you really do it better? But it's just so funny to think like that these brothers always wear the same.
I was
color.
still having trouble.
So
I
Smoke
realized
was
which one
blue and
which
red was
story-
Stack.
Smoke
Yeah.
Smoke was in blue, but he was also like the more analytical one.
Yeah.
Where Stack was kind of
Red,
like
fiery
red,
exactly.
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I was thinking of it.
So they went to war. They leave their town in Mississippi. They like take off. They go to Chicago, and they don't really tell you what happened in Chicago.
But they're back home. If
they're-
they came back home
they're
to their
back
little
home
town,
from
there's
Chicago with a lot of money.
Well, did they say that they worked for Capone or something? Or there was some
Capone
kind
is
of
mentioned,
ties?
but then
Yeah.
Hailee Steinfeld, right? That's her name.
Mm-hmm.
Hailee Steinfeld says you've got Italian wine
Right.
and
Yeah.
Irish beer.
So they do kind
Yeah.
of tell you they stole from each from the Irish mob and the Italian mob,
which kept them busy and
which
distracted.
They each mob thought the other mob had stole from them.
Correct.
And they
The
ducked
two
out.
brothers
Yeah.
dipped and headed back home.
So they were gonna end up dead.
Yes.
One way or the other.
Right. So they go back to their hometown.
You know what I thought was kind of cool? So Katie didn't know anything about the plot. I did mention it had vampires because she usually doesn't watch horror movies.
Sure.
And I agree with our discussion before the show started. This isn't like a straight horror movie. So if you're not a horror person, I think you can kind of
If you're
ease into
this
it.
is a perfect adaptation. Not adaptation. It's a perfect use of the Stephen King method.
Okay.
Where you
pretty
build
good.
all like there's a team.
He gets you to care about the characters before he gives
before
you the
hits the
Yeah.
fan.
And the reason so many of his early movies weren't very good,
They skipped that part.
would they go straight for the
Gotta
the
get 'em-
fire
gotta get 'em
starting,
scary.
and they don't
The
get
fire
you,
starting.
they don't get you caring about the person
You
doing
gotta
the
care.
fire.
There's,
You know
there's
what?
a reason that Firestarter is a great example because that book is so good.
Yeah.
Because you care about the girl, you care about the dad, and then all hell breaks loose.
Or Carrie.
And
where
Carrie,
you gotta care.
And now the
Damn
movie
Cujo.
Carrie is good.
yeah, no, that is a good right.
Yeah.
But you know who?
Carrie's a perfect example. I agree.
You know who does this really well? Because we're talking
Mike
about
Flanagan?
horror stuff. Yes, and Jordan Peele.
Oh, 100%.
yeah.
His movies. and
He's
his
a Stephen
character
King
building.
devotee, though.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, he does this perfectly. And like Nope, I was telling Katie has never seen Nope. Ryan has. Me and Ryan watched it together. We loved it. And I was telling her, I'm like, that movie is a masterpiece.
Yep.
You have to see Nope. I think that movie is phenomenal, and the character building in that one is so good.
I did see the trailer for the new one he's producing.
I haven't yet.
It's him.
Him.
Yeah.
Is it a football movie? Ryan said, "Did you see a horror football movie?"
He's
from
like,
Jordan
it's
Peele?
like a basic. It's got a guy that I don't recognize in Marlon Wayans. And
Oh,
basically
cool.
he's saying like, what would you do? What would you do to be the best? Like, what would you do to
okay.
be the the whatever?
Interesting.
So it looks
Okay.
pretty good.
Awesome.
But that's one of the things that I love in movies, action movies more specifically,
Boobs.
also boobs.
Yeah.
Yes. But building
In
the
movies and outside of movies.
all boobs in general. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take my shirt off.
Yeah. You don't have them
Tom is the
anymore.
most fit person of all of us now. So
Is building the team.
yeah,
Like going, Seven Samurai, the
Dirty
Magnificent
Dozen.
Seven,
The
the Dirty
Magnificent
Dozen,
Seven.
the Magnificent Seven, the event, like the
you were-
Avengers,
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
You were speaking of Brian De Palma,
The Blues Brothers.
earlier. and I was-
Absolutely, Blues
Yes.
Brothers.
the Five Bloods.
And I was thinking about again during my allergy stint earlier this week, watching movies and such at home. The Untouchables.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
and I hadn't watched that in so long. I was just like, God, this ensemble
so good.
is just
Yeah, but then it's Costner and Connery putting
Yeah.
that team together, right?
Yeah.
Mission Impossible.
Also, Kevin Costner's the villain of that movie. If he would have listened to the money guy,
Yeah.
they had him.
Yeah.
But he was
But
too
he
much of a
wanted
dick.
to- yeah.
And then he gets everybody killed.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
for the Untouchables.
You're almost 40 years later.
So when he's going from person, when the twins are going from
I
person
love
to
getting
person,
their old gang back together, like
the
their crew.
two storekeeps, you get Cornbread, who was great.
Yeah.
Like that guy was hilarious.
Oh man, that scene when we get there. I
there
think
was
that's
a
great.
there was a reaction when Stack was like giving Cornbread in the
About
field
his
about his wife. Like people
my
in the theater were
gosh.
like,
Oh,
"Oh,
I know.
that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they make you care about even the people who aren't Michael B. Jordan, because he's two people. Like
Michael B. Jordan's.
They make you care about Cornbread. They make you care about Hailee Steinfeld. They make you care about the cousin.
Yeah.
Right. They care
And
about
Alice was the ex of.
Oh yeah, who man? If you've never seen
Smoke.
Lovecraft Country, like she
Oh,
is
so good.
Oh, yeah.
incredible on that show.
Yeah.
So they make you care about all these characters. They're putting the team together, and then they start to much like Salem's Lot. They start to introduce the bad stuff off to the side, right? So you've got all these characters putting together this juke house.
So it's an old sawmill that they buy from old, your traditional suspenders white man with the hat on, and
he's like, oh man, the clan's not here.
Looks like an
anymore. It's
old-fashioned
what are you
plantation
talking-
owner,
yeah, what are you talking about?
Like a live action rooster. What's the
Foghorn
rooster?
Leghorn?
There we go.
Exactly. That's exactly what.
I say, yeah.
Yep.
I also smiled real quick when you mentioned Salem's Lot because Alamo did show a trailer. To
Oh,
that
I know.
beforehand.
Oh, nice.
And I
It's
saw
like,
that, and I was like, and there's a scene in this movie that I'm like, there it is,
Yeah.
right out of Salem's Lot.
The guy's name is Hogwood, and
Of course it
Oh,
is.
yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm sure it's not,
No.
Peckerwood.
No.
Hogwood Leghorn.
Hogwood
Yeah,
Leghorn. And so they have all this money. They pay this guy, and he's like, "Look, I'm telling you right now, if we see any of your buddies show up on our land, we are shooting you on sight."
Yeah, so he's like, we're giving you this money. We're not giving you $1 more
this is
than
what you
this,
get.
and this is the last time we see you.
And they clearly had to overpay to get it.
Yes.
Yes.
Because he was like, he was clearly going to overcharge them, and then he saw
Correct.
how much was in there, and he was like,
Never
"Oh,
mind.
never mind."
It was
All
like
right.
a carpet bag full of
Yeah.
just stacked with
You don't
money.
know. You don't know how much,
Yeah.
but it was a lot.
But it was a lot.
It was a lot.
Hogwood was A-okay
Yes.
with,
Well, because he knew it was.
well, yeah, he had other plans
Yeah.
anyway, but
So then, they're building this team. We kind of get backstories on each person. We find out that Stack had a relationship with Hailee Steinfeld at one point.
I think her Mary. I think is her
Mary,
name.
yeah. And I do like that she's the only white character that is in this world, like in their world.
Yeah.
And
she's like
But
what,
she's
quarter
passing.
black.
She's not.
well,
yeah,
her
her
grandfather,
grandfather
I believe,
was
was
black.
Yeah.
And that kind of gives her.
Or her grandfather was half black or
No,
something.
I think
to say.
I think the
The
grandfather
way she
was
explained
black.
it was kind of I
Yeah, it
feel
sounded like there was a
simpler way.
small percentage lineup or whatever, but like, so
like
she,
And her mother helped raise, or I don't know,
yeah, her
helped
mother.
raise
Yeah.
smoking staff.
yeah,
or,
Yep.
exactly.
But
Yep.
back then, that is black.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this
Yeah.
is all
Yeah.
the one drop
Right.
rule.
Because
Yeah.
she mentioned something about that's kind of what helped her mother or maybe father stay alive from the Klan or something.
I think it was
from her white descent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, and that's why he broke up with her, is because
to protect her.
to protect her, because he's like, people will see you as white, and
And they see you making out with a black dude.
and they see you with me
down here.
It's a wrap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wikipedia says she passes for white. So it's
Oh,
like,
okay.
she's not supposed to be
which
white.
I think is
it's
like
That's what I
again.
just said. She's passing.
Yeah,
Right,
it's,
but-
it's
but-
such a
yeah,
it's such
yeah.
a it's such it's I don't know 3 minutes of dialogue.
yeah,
Yeah.
gives you an entire backstory
Right.
for these two characters
Yeah.
and to why she's in his world, which I think is brilliant.
and
Like
why
they-
she isn't in his world.
Correct.
Yes.
Also
Yeah.
correct.
But
and
she's
why he's kind of a dick to her.
But did like even her mom like breastfed the twins?
I don't
right?
know that they
Didn't-
said that.
I think she
Maybe.
said that she
Yeah, I don't
raised
think I
them.
caught-
to
I don't
I
think I
thought
caught
she said
that.
she took over like when they were babies and something happened to their parents and like I don't know. I can't remember. It was like a very
missed that
close
part.
connection.
his when they didn't come back, the brothers didn't come back for
Her
her mother's funeral.
Mm-hmm.
She was not happy about it.
Yeah.
And
And I like the writing. It's
the
like
language
you didn't
that
even...
Hailee Steinfeld uses in this movie.
Ooh,
I was like,
yeah.
God dang! Like,
Oh,
you know,
that first
basically
scene where they
talking
meet
about
and he's like, I
Well-
don't want anything to do with you.
right.
And you know, it's funny. I forget because I'm still thinking of Hailee Steinfeld as in True Grit.
Yeah,
like, again,
right,
15 years ago. But I was watching another review when I got home last night, and they were talking about it. And the same way, it's just like I'm 34, so she's like a few years younger than me.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you forget that no, she's a woman now.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, absolutely. Which I think is something that's an interesting thing is that Millie Bobby Brown had a comment about that where she's like, growing up on TV,
Yeah.
people still think of me as this,
Child.
And she's like, I'm not a child.
It is a
Like,
weird
it's-
thing that I can't imagine the struggle actors go through, and obviously why a lot of them have problematic upbringings because to grow up in the limelight, and have that much attention, and people criticizing every
You're
little
always
thing.
going
Yeah.
to
Oh,
be
yeah.
seen as, I mean,
Yeah.
look at basically the Disney kid
Absolutely.
syndrome.
Yeah,
pretty
oh,
much.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not many of them have made it out.
Well, it's
Well,
cool that a
unscathed.
lot more are now. Like, I feel like they didn't used to, like, obviously Macaulay Culkin went through some trouble. They
Sure.
luckily cleaned it up, and Lindsay Lohan had trouble, but now she
Amanda Bynes,
right, and
like,
for sure.
you
But,
know.
like, now, even, like, isn't Selena Gomez?
Selena Gomez, Ariana Grande, Justin Timberlake,
Yeah.
Ryan
Gosling then, yeah.
Britney Spears.
But I feel like there's a lot more. Zendaya
oh yeah,
is
Yeah,
a Disney
yeah.
kid. I
Yeah.
just feel like there's a lot more now that for whatever reason they're able to change their trajectory from like they get out of that kid movie and they just instantly transition into the
Oh.
adult film world.
Ryan
That-
Gosling in a Star Wars movie.
right? Yeah, directed by
By
Sean Levy. Yeah,
like let's go. That sounds
And
great.
I think with that too, it kind of more so just depends on what kind of character that you're portraying as a kid. And I go back, it's funny we're talking about child actors because I go back to Michael B. Jordan again.
Yeah.
And I remember first thing I really saw him in was The Wire. And that was like, that's not a kid's role.
no, that's that's a serious.
Yeah.
that isn't
Right.
a Disney show.
Yeah.
No, that is not.
I think it also helps that we've had, 100 years of the film industry at this point.
Yeah.
And that people have kind of figured out how do you make that next step.
How to navigate
Oh,
it.
sure,
You know what I
sure.
mean? Because it used to be there. I mean,
Bobby
once you-
Driscoll or whatever from Disney was like doing drugs and heroin. He's the guy that played Peter Pan, and he was in I think Mary Poppins or whatever. Like he had a 10-year contract back when they were contract players or whatever. Like they just did as many movies, the studio system, whatever. And he like got on drugs and alcohol and overdosed and just had a sad. He got too old and he couldn't play kid anymore. And
is that what you were saying, Tom? Is like it's hard.
You get boxed in.
Yeah, I think the people it really seems like the last like 20 years have gotten better at like how I think the laws have gotten better about protecting these kids on set and protecting their money, not only their money but their physical safety.
Yeah.
Still not perfect.
Nope.
I'm not trying to pretend like it's a panacea.
Don't whatever you don't
But-
watch the Nickelodeon doc or
Ooh,
do.
Yeah.
boy.
'Cause,
Yeah,
yikes.
or and I think also you're seeing it now morph into other worlds. Like there's a documentary on Netflix that just came out called Bad Influencer, and it's about kid
Oh, I did see
influencers.
that.
It's really good.
Is it really?
But it's like because they're doing this stuff for YouTube, and it's basically they're doing it on their own and just uploading it. There's
no laws.
company.
Yeah.
like there's no law, no rules or regulations,
No protections.
to follow, and so. It can get real weird real
Yeah,
fast.
I mean,
But
look at the two that I think about is Feldman and
Haim.
Haim.
Yeah.
Like once Haim was not a cute kid anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
That was game over. For
Right,
him.
that's
Feldman's kind of the same way. Like he kind of navigated, but not anymore.
In his own way. He's like,
Now
he's
he's
just
touring with, I don't know, Limp Bizkit or something.
yeah,
why
it's
not?
wild.
So they build this team. We kind of get an idea of like the world that we're in. And as they're building this team, we see this is a brilliant, like, again, this is Stephen King adjacent. Like it's because they're dropping little hints.
Yeah.
Like we see this guy kind of fall out of the sky and he's smoking, and you're just kind of like, what the? And as soon as he crosses the line and gets into the shade, like he stops smoking, and if you watch it, his skin starts to heal.
Yeah.
And then he's like, there are all kinds of vampire laws that they reference in this, right? Like one of the things that I learned from watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie, is vampires can't enter a building without being
they
invited.
gotta be invited in.
Oh.
Spoilers for Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Well, that's a key
That's
plot point
from-
of Lost Boys.
Oh, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
But didn't that start from? Was it Nosferatu or was it Dracula when
I don't
they
think it was
invited in? Because
Nosferatu.
there were a lot of rules that were invented
Oh, maybe it is
in
because
Dracula.
she invites him in. Yeah, maybe
I
you're
think
right.
Dracula may have been one of the first. Now, I'm not saying there weren't earlier ones, but Dracula invented a lot of the lore we think of.
Yeah, yeah, that's
that
true.
stuff.
But I like it in Buffy the Vampire Slayer at the end of that movie. The reason the
I've never seen the
vampires-
show, but I've seen the movie.
The show's fine.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely
I'm
got a
kind of
cult
same. I saw
following.
the movie years
Yeah.
ago as a kid. I'd have to
on
revisit
the front of the building in Latin, it says all are welcome who want to learn. So the vampires are like, okay, and just walk right into the
right,
building.
yeah, and I like.
yeah.
Remember in what was the Nicholas Holt one with?
Nosferatu.
No, well, the other Nicholas Holt one.
Renfield. Yeah.
I like it. Didn't a welcome mat? Couldn't
Yeah.
they use that as like that was clever? the
Yeah.
way-
Well, I thought that's how they were going to get around it in this one. Is that I forget if it's Smoke or Stack that gets turned into a vampire, but
Stack.
I believe.
but it's his bar,
Right.
right?
And he's
Like,
in
he
it.
doesn't need to be invited in.
Yeah.
He owns it.
But he was in the
but
bar.
it doesn't
turned-
work like that for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But that is one.
That
of-
would be clever,
That is
though.
that is my one complaint. When Stack gets turned,
Yeah.
he's already in the bar.
Yeah, but he goes out.
Now I
He
am.
runs out.
Yeah.
But why didn't he just stay?
Well, he was going to meet up with his. Well,
I'm
they
just
were.
saying, he
Now
was
I am
already-
curious about well, not to jump the gun because we haven't gotten to that
Yeah.
part yet. But
Okay.
Mary
getting back
later
in?
on,
Yeah.
yes, but we can get into that
Okay.
eventually. I'm just
So this
replaying
guy
that in my mind.
finds. So he knocks on this door, and this married couple,
Right.
And you see a Klan hood in
Which
the
I didn't
background.
realize what that was.
Oh, really?
I didn't even. I thought they were like trying to hide a baby.
Oh.
Like it didn't even.
Joe's like, I
click-
thought,
Innocent Joe.
I thought everybody had one of those.
it didn't even click that that's what that was.
Interesting.
And
okay.
then that'll come back into play later.
Yeah.
And they, this guy hands them like a gold shillings, and they end up coming in. He's like, I'm being chased by.
Native Americans.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say what he said, but which again,
And what does he
I
say?
love
They
the
took
idea-
my wife, or they.
basically
Yep.
they're just after me.
Yes.
Yeah, but they did say that like they got his wife,
Which
and-
means to me, they got one of them.
yeah. I love the idea, and I wish this came back. I can't believe they never came back. But like the Native Americans being vampire
There's-
hunters, I thought that was the coolest thing.
Because I guarantee you, Ryan Coogler is too smart.
yeah.
There's a sequel he's got.
But they kind of solved the. I mean, you could always do a spinoff in a different area, but
That's
it kind of
but they
resolves
couldn't-
itself in this movie.
But the Native Americans know you can't fight these f***ers at night.
Yeah,
So they're like, we're not even messing with it.
Right.
Like, we'll come back during the daytime.
yeah. Cause like,
That
we
is
gotta
the
get out.
one thing that I was, because that kept kind of like baffling me ever since I saw it last night. Was just like, not how do they know, but just like, can we get back?
I know.
to
I
this?
do want to get the back. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted more of that because I thought that was really cool. That like obviously they have been on the land for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And so they've all the lore has been passed down and the culture and everything. And I want an exploration of how the Native Americans discovered and interacted with the vampires.
I think
And-
there's
and-
multiple stories to be told.
yeah, there is. For
And
sure.
I do wonder too if like, and I don't have it completely formulated, but if this is somewhat of a metaphor for just America.
Yeah.
It
That's what I thought it was.
absolutely
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I totally kept thinking about that last night, and I'm still just like,
I was-
once you let
Well,
them,
it's-
don't they say like once you let them in,
They're in.
Yeah.
I was totally. I think there has to be a story of racism and the vampires or the
Absolutely.
white people, and there has to.
Well, I also
be.
think it's about mixing, right? It's about people coming to America and mixing, right? You've got the Asian folks that run the
Yeah.
store. You've got the black folks that live there. You've got the white folks that are. So you've got like this melting pot of cultures and stuff, and they kind of reference that when we get to the music
And
scene.
I will say too, because the beginning of the movie, which I love, starts off at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Yes. Yeah,
like
yeah,
you get
yeah.
revisited with it. And the very first thing that came to my mind, because is it Sonny Preacher's son? I forget his name. Sonny
Preacher Boy.
Preacher Boy.
yeah.
You see him, and he pulls up to this church. His clothes are all tattered.
He's got a
and
giant scratch on his face.
and he's got half of a guitar in his hand.
Yeah.
He's just got like the neck in his hand. And he walks up to the church house. It's a Sunday, and he, the congregation's all like surprised, and his father's just like dropped the guitar. I don't know why. The very first thing I thought about was Robert Johnson and Crossroads.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what song that Clapton and Cream he made a little bit more famous,
Yeah.
but Robert Johnson's the originator of it, and it's about him, Robert Johnson, being a blues man, selling his soul to the devil. And
Interesting.
I was just, I don't know why that occurred to me. I
Oh,
was
that's
just
all I
like,
could think about watching this movie.
Yeah,
and,
and,
there's
they didn't. I mean, they discuss blues and blues
Right,
music
right.
and such, but that particular, I mean, that Crossroads, it's considered to be like the quintessential.
for sure.
And
there's a
oomph.
movie called Crossroads.
Yeah, I forget about that. Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, Ralph Macchio, directed by Walter Hill.
Oh,
And,
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it's basically like he's friends. Ralph Macchio. It's kind of, I think it got lost in the clutter because it kind of seemed like Karate Kid, but with
Yeah.
guitars.
Sure.
And he like befriends this old black man who's at a nursing home who's a harmonica player.
totally
and he had
forgot
been
about
best
this movie.
friends with Robert Johnson, and he had sold his soul to the devil to be a great harmonica player
Yeah.
because there's such a wonderful future in that, monetarily speaking. And then they go on this journey together, and then he ends up having to like get in this guitar battle at the end. And then the guitarist that he's battling with is Steve Vai.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
And I think you could say, going back to kind of like the mixing of different things and cultures and such, and we'll probably discuss a little bit later, but just even with music.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because afterwards, when I won't say, I guess, original vampires come and they find them,
Yeah.
they're playing their music.
Right.
But then they see what's going on in the house and, all this stuff. And they're just like, oh, we want,
Yes.
we want to be a part
well,
of that.
And they kind of say that is as the vampire horde gets bigger, they all start to share the same
Yeah.
memories.
I wonder
right?
if it's like cultural appropriation too, because they wanted to. They joined them and they had this collectiveness. He could then know their thoughts and their histories
Yes.
and stories. He
Yeah.
says, "I want your stories and
Right,
everything."
right.
And I wonder if that's part of like the melting pot and cultural appropriation. And we see the history of Black culture and how things evolve. I thought that scene was my favorite scene.
Oh.
That dance sequence going through time.
It's
and
absolutely incredible. Well, they should
it
say
looks like
Got
a-
me. Already before that, it was like, yeah, it's great.
It's great,
that
but
was
that
just
scene
like, all
was
right,
so
I'm
cool.
sold.
Yeah.
They
What
they
I really-
say like the lore is that there are these people who exist who are able to sing and play music that can open the door to people from the past, to the future, to their music can save people or they can bring something else with them.
And the key is the preacher boy Sammy.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
this actor Miles Catton, this is his first movie.
Good lord.
What I heard.
First movie, and he learned to play guitar for this movie.
Ah, well, he killed it.
I mean,
Literally
the guy
and figuratively.
sings and plays guitar and is amazing in this movie. Yeah, first film.
Yeah, that's
really
great.
cool.
But
But he's the key. He has this power, this gift to unlock.
which is in the world of Stephen King, right? Like this Stephen King saying, that
He's got the
you
shinning.
You want to get sued?
Yeah.
The Shining, or whether it's vampires, or I think in the creatures, like all this different stuff like that exists in the Stephen King world that make sense in that world. So they're basically saying this kid has this ability to sing and open the door. And the scene where he starts singing, and we see like a Jimi Hendrix style guy show up. We see
a
I think it was
DJ.
probably more Parliament Funkadelic.
probably that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
But it's
But he
still
Based on the outfit.
Yeah, that's fair.
You get
that's
a
fair.
DJ and microphones and all
you get people to, it's
But then you also have like I don't know how you'd say it. Like it's like an African
Yeah, they
garb,
go
like
back to like the
tribal
beginnings, and
type
it's like
of.
you're showing like
so it's
tribal dance.
so it's like the past. And I love
he's connecting everything.
right, and but I
Yeah.
love the way that it shows how culture has evolved, right? Because everything builds upon itself.
well, and you even see, I love that with the Asian.
I was about to
husband
say
and
the
wife.
same thing. It wasn't
Oh,
just black culture. It was you see the
Yeah.
Asian couple and seeing their whatever
Their
Yeah.
culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was an amazing visual representation
It's a
of
tracking
seeing them
shot.
all together.
Yeah.
It's not actually a one shot,
Right,
but
no,
it
right.
looks like a oneer. It's
Yeah.
it's filmed it's amazing.
Right.
But yeah, the way that it shows, I just thought the visual representation of the culture throughout time and building upon each other and them all dancing together like with their ancestors that created the
Right.
stuff. It was really cool.
So we should say that back at the old house that we saw earlier, we see Native Americans show up, and they're basically like, "Hey," and we know that like this other guy has said they're after me, like they're coming to get me. So he walks up and he's just like, "Look, we're looking for this guy. Have you seen him?" And she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he's like, "Is he inside?"
If he's
She's like,
inside, you got problems.
and he's just like, "I don't know."
One thing with that shot that I did love were the crows circling the house.
That I thought was going to keep coming back. Is like that was your signal that like
Mm-hmm.
vampires were nearby, were the vultures kind of flying over.
I think the signal that the vampires are nearby is that
The vampires.
the vampires,
vampires.
just sit outside.
They're
your
coming. They're
house.
hanging out.
Yeah.
And I do like that. So there's like this whole group of Native Americans, and the one guy's like, "Hey man, the sun's going down.
down.
We got to get out of here."
Which is its own metaphor, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I
A
mean,
sundown
it's a
town.
sundown town.
Yep.
Like
And the Native American goes, "If he's in there, like, good luck." And they bolt. They take off. And this is the scene right out of Salem's Lot.
I was going to say also, mind you, at first when the original guy comes up, it's
Yeah.
the husband and wife. But
Yeah.
then when the Native Americans show up, it's just the wife.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
She's the only one. She's calling for her husband.
Right.
She goes upstairs.
Yeah,
and
this
sees-
is a scene right out of Salem's Lot. If
Yeah.
you've never seen that, there's a scene with Jeffrey Lewis, Juliette Lewis's father, where you think something's going on with him, and he finally turns in that, and he's sitting in a rocking chair,
Yeah.
like rocking back and forth. It's a great scene in that movie, and they redo it here, and we see the husband on the ground. I love the red eyes. Like I think that's
It's
such
a good way to
great- such a
represent the glowing
great-
red
yeah.
eyes. Yeah, in the dark, they
And
really.
he's got he's covered in blood, and the husband stands up, who is now turned,
Yeah.
and basically says, "Game on."
Yeah.
And so we get back to the juke joint, and they're doing their thing. And
Also, I'll say with that, the wife, I didn't realize until the end, was Lola Kirk, who is Jemima Kirk's from Girls' sister, and Simon Kirk, the drummer from Bad Company's daughter.
really,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
see, that's why Orlandez comes on.
Yeah.
It's
I'm just a
drop-
musical
That is dropping some
Ascension.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
yes.
Um,
And it makes sense. She's a singer too. So
oh, that makes total sense. So we go.
so many nepo babies.
I know, right, nonstop.
Well, I just found out the other day that John Williams' son is the lead singer of
Toto.
Toto.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
I had no idea. Well, I'm like, that's crazy. Yeah, lead singer of Toto is John
Interesting,
Williams'
yeah.
son.
hold the line here. Wait a
Wait,
minute.
isn't wait? Oingo Boingo. That's what Danny
That's Danny Elfman, but I don't think there's any
No,
Netbook
I was just
connection
thinking.
there.
I thought they were in the same.
But isn't that weird? Like, you just keep finding out these things. Like, that's so crazy. I mean, it makes sense. You have connections in the industry, and you follow in your parents' footsteps to do something in the entertainment career. But it's like, how did I miss that one? John Williams, of all people.
Right,
he's in his
right.
90s, and the guy from Toto's probably in his
Are they
60s, 70s.
I got to tell you, this is tangent real quick.
Yeah.
All of the Superman stuff that I've seen so far, they have taken that theme and repurposed it just enough where it's not like
they're
you
evoking the
hear
theme.
it. You can hear it. Just to tie this back to Ryan Coogler, it's the scene in Creed when you get the Rocky theme for that split second, and you're like, "Let's go!"
Yeah.
So, and
But he
think
has to earn it.
that's
You gotta
exactly
earn it.
right.
The story has
Yes,
to earn it.
yes.
Like, and when they do it, you're like, yes,
absolutely.
If they had done that at the beginning,
when he's running, doesn't
you'd have been
work.
like, "You didn't deserve that.
Right.
We don't know who this guy is."
Right.
Like,
But that final fight,
Perfect.
that last round. But in everything I've seen, they've invoked that theme just enough where I'm just kind of like, oh, God dang it.
It's going to be good. I'm telling you. I would bet money on it. All the
I'm
Snyder
gonna bet
Bros can
$2.
go
That's
take
what
a
I'm gonna
hike.
pay for it. So now the three, we've got Cornbread, who is, you recognize, I wish I could remember this actor's name. You
I remember
recognize
from,
him. He's
like,
in all
8
kinds
Mile.
of stuff.
That's the first thing I remember seeing.
Yeah.
Like, he was in a show too, I think.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But he's one of those actors.
Omar Benson Miller is the
Yes.
actor's name, and he was in Ballers, 8 Mile, Shall We Dance, Miracle at St. Anna.
He's been
He's
in all
got 56
kinds of,
credits.
Yeah.
He is a monster of a man.
Rugrats voicing Randy Carmichael, I guess
Sweet.
Susie's dad.
Oh,
So,
that's
come
funny.
on.
Okay.
And he's their doorman. And he says these three folks, we know who these folks are, but these three white folks walk up, and he was
You're
just
talking
like,
about opening night for the Juke
Opening
joint.
night for
So
the
they've
Juke
got
joint.
all the people in the
Everybody's
town are
there.
coming. They're saying, get a free drink on us.
I have to say, the concert planner in me is like, there is no way you do this all in a day.
No.
And get
No,
people
you
to
get
show
you
up.
get food, you get a sign, you get
It's
call
literally
bullshit.
2 hours.
I will believe vampires. I do not believe
You got
packed
this running?
place
Conjure
on
up a group of
2
folks.
hours notice.
Right,
They don't
right.
even have cell phones to like tweet
No.
about it. No.
word of mouth in 2 hours.
Totally fake. One story. Done. You guys can finish the episode without.
I did want to mention that talking about character development, Smoke and Alice, the backstory with their child
Yeah,
they lost,
yeah.
that was a really touching
There's something that-
moment.
Something happens later in this movie that I have yet to figure out why.
Okay.
Like there's we'll get to
We'll
it,
get
but
there.
like I don't know why.
But
the
again, that
reaction
visual
was-
storytelling, it's so subtle. But like, when he goes to Alice's little shack out in the woods,
Yeah.
it's like a general store where she lives or whatever, and he goes and plants like
he
flowers.
puts flowers
next
down.
to
You see like it's a little rock with a tiny little handprint.
yeah.
But there's no dialogue.
Yeah.
But visually it's so simple. You're like,
That's what I'm
I
saying. Like,
figured
you
it
see
out.
everything,
Yeah, I know.
and then they talk about it later. But clearly, so I mean, it tells you they lost a child. They went through that kind of split them apart. He
Yeah.
left and did his own thing, and like I really like where that story goes throughout the film with that relationship.
And she also, she has remedies, I guess is a good word for
Yeah, I don't know if it's
Yeah.
voodoo, but
no,
it's
it's a real. It's not. It's It
Hoodoo?
might be called hoodoo. It's a real. So they actually said that there was someone on set, like a consultant.
Oh,
I
okay.
believe it's hoodoo.
It's
and
almost
it's a real
like
thing
holistic
people
medicine.
practice.
Yeah.
And she's
Kinda.
asking, or she's basically saying, I've kept you protected while you've been
That line
out
where he's
there.
And then why didn't
and
it
why-
work
yeah,
on
why
our
didn't it work on
baby?
our baby? I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
it's-
yeah.
yeah.
And he's wearing like a mojo
Mojo
bag.
bag,
Mojo
yeah.
bag, yeah. And that comes into play later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like it saves his life
Yeah,
later.
hoodoo.
Which there's a point in the movie Crossroads where a character gets a
Oh,
mojo
really?
bag. Yeah.
So these three characters show up, and Cornbread's like, "Nah, I don't. You're not in
Get
the right."
smoked
yeah.
and stacked.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know what to
He's
make
like,
of this.
"You guys don't belong here." And he's like, "Well, what is she doing in here?" And she's like, "There, she's family. Like that's different." And he was like, "All right, like I hear you."
It was an interesting like reverse racism card
Yeah.
kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
thing. You
Also,
know, It was-
what they show up with like banjos.
Yes.
and
when
they're
they
playing.
sing and they're all watching them sing, like what are these
Well,
people
I
doing?
thought what was great is if you watch that, they're in sync together.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they're moving together,
right,
like
because they're
you know,
vampire powers. Because it's
so-
like, because then the concert goer in me is like, when did they have time to rehearse this number?
Right.
But I like that they say that like it's a hive mind, and they've done
Yeah.
that in vampire lore before, where it's a hive mind, and so the knowledge is collective, and so these songs they all know them.
and this guy's definitely Irish. Like
He-
we get to
he's
a
really
point
Irish
later
and
where
real-
I would
Yeah.
between his accent
Yeah.
and some of the hillbilly mushmouth in this movie, like I would have really,
Needed
I would
subtitles.
like to watch it again with subtitles.
Yeah.
Oh, sure,
I will
sure,
watch
sure.
this movie again when it
Absolutely.
comes out.
Also,
for sure.
I don't know if there was any significant meaning to it. I thought it was funny because at the club, you know, they're just like, nope, we're good
out.
over, and they're just like, we're just gonna walk very slow
Yeah.
and just
And
leave.
if
Yeah.
And I
you
was
change
like,
your mind,
Right,
it's
right,
like-
yeah, I was like, what the?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
But they turn him away.
They turn
They're
him
just like,
away,
"Get outta
and
here."
Smoke and Stack start talking, and they're like, "Look, we're not making enough money tonight because
Yeah.
people are paying with like mill coins, which are like these not
Like
nickel,
wooden
but
nickels.
wooden
Nickels or
nickels,
something, yeah.
which aren't worth anything.
You could only use them at like the
General
the
store.
store
Yeah.
owned by it. I mean, it was like sharecropping was like basically, well, let's find a way to recreate slavery without calling it
Oh,
slavery,
yeah,
and
right,
so
right,
they
right.
would pay them in funds that only worked in stores that they owned.
Right.
So you couldn't spend it. They were
Anywhere
always going to
else.
get your
Currency
money
is only
back.
back,
good
right.
in
Right.
Yeah.
It's
specific
like if you
areas.
worked at Walmart and they only paid you in Walmart gift
Gift
cards.
cards,
cards,
yeah.
yes.
But also, all the stuff cost 40% more because they knew you couldn't shop anymore.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So Hailee Steinfeld hears this. Her and Stack have been like circling each other, and Stack finally kind of relents.
Well,
and
he's really
says-
cold to her, and you're like, what happened here with these two, right?
And
They
we-
grew up together, and they
he
had this
says it.
relationship.
He's like, look, if anybody sees you with me, like you're dead.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I don't love you. That doesn't mean I don't think about you
he
all
goes,
the
it's
time.
because
but
I love you.
you've
You're
got
not
to get out of here.
safe around me, and I like that.
Doesn't
where-
he, like he kind of uses not an analogy, but he's just like, if somebody kills you, like I'm killing them.
right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's like, yeah. If somebody hurts you, my brother and I are going to kill all
Yeah.
of them.
She's like, you'll do that for me, but you won't be with me. And he's like, it's to
yeah,
protect you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she's like, look, I heard you're struggling. Let me go out there and talk to them and see if maybe I can see how much money they have and see if we can go from there.
Yeah.
So she goes out there and they're playing a song and she's like, you guys are really good. And he like, this is another vampire trick where they start to seduce the victim, where he's like, I know you're feeling a lot of pain and you're feeling blah, blah, blah. And he starts to lure her in.
They also have gold coins,
Yeah.
solid gold
Yeah.
coins.
Right. And she realizes this is very slick and very smart. She's sitting on like a log basically, and she's sitting next to the main
Just
guy.
tripped off of that.
Yeah. Right. And they start to circle her, and it's super slow, and then she realizes what's happening, and she's got like a gun in her leg, and
think
she was
Stack
like,
Stack
her-
gave it to
yeah,
her to put.
yeah.
Yeah.
And she jumps up, and she was like, no, like this is not like. And I like that Hailee Steinfeld, that's Mary's this character, is not dumb by any stretch.
No.
She's very savvy. She knows something is wrong. She's trying to get out of there, but it is too late.
But in the background, it's
You
that thing where it's
see
like blurry in the
cut.
background, and it just leaps
You
through the
see him
air and it
leaping in
cuts.
the air.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I do something else. It's funny you mentioned that, Kevin, as far as blurriness, because I noticed certain shots, like even before stuff even happens, like when Smoke's character tells the girl, you know, hey, lay on this horn if somebody
yeah.
comes. And
That's
I
a
don't know if
great
it was
scene.
just me, but it just seemed almost like not quite a scope angle, but it was just
this
like
is shot.
you focus.
This is shot in IMAX. So
Oh,
I do
okay.
wonder if like seeing it on an IMAX kind of seeing this on a smaller screen.
It seemed like the focus on like a general character was really evident, and then in the background, everyone seemed quite like a little blurry.
Yeah,
which
I think
I liked.
I
thought it
definitely
was
think it
great.
was with purpose, you know,
Yeah,
right?
like
'Cause,
seeing a perspective.
The cinematography is honed in on certain things, right? It draws your eye to it, and obviously Ryan Coogler has made some great looking films, you know, and so I think it's a great looking film, but also every shot is with purpose, and I like how they do that when they pull focus to certain things, and you know, in horror movies we talk how effective that is when you
It
can't
can be.
quite see what's
Can
going on
be,
in the
for sure.
background. I
Well,
like that.
And even going back to the very beginning, which is essentially the end, where Preacher Boy is going to the church, and you see these hits, and it's just like boom, boom.
Yeah.
and,
I
you
do
know,
like
it's
that.
Like, whoa,
What's happening?
What are we about to see
Right.
here later on?
So, this is, I think, the scene you're talking about is how does Mary get back in?
Yes.
So Mary comes walking up and she looks flawless.
Cornbread's still at the
Cornbread's
door.
still at the door. And he was just like, how did you get out here? And she's like, oh, I was just doing this. She's like, can I come
Are
back
you gonna
in?
let me
Are you
in?
gonna let me
Oh,
in? He
so she
goes,
does ask.
and he
Okay.
says,
Of
"Go
course, yeah,
ahead."
go ahead.
Yep, he welcomes her in. Yep.
walks in, and then she goes right after Stack. Like, goes right after him. Again, as a vampire now, there's a level seducing him and bringing him in, and she brings him into like this back room, and there's a fight that happens like out in the bar. Like, a guy gets busted for having loaded dice. Smoke's like,
You
hey,
don't steal from these guys. I'll
no.
tell you that.
Well, I do like that. It's a scene. This movie does have like bits of levity that are kind of funny. Like when Smoke shoots the guy in the ass, and then he's just like, "Wow!" He's like, "I didn't know it was
That he
yours."
knows,
right?
yeah.
And he's like, and then he shoots the other guy, but that gives you an idea of how ruthless.
It's like I can't have someone.
The shooting the guy in the ass thing is kind of funny, but then he sees the other guy and shoots him in the kneecap.
Again,
no one can go away unscathed
Right.
without our wrath.
And this is Ryan Coogler written and directed. He writes and directs his movies. And like he's a really great writer. And again, that's just another, visual storytelling that tells you how feared and known these guys are.
Yeah.
And you don't mess with them. And I just like that they show you.
And so in the vein of From Dusk Till Dawn, when all hell starts to break loose, like it doesn't stop. Like it's nonstop.
It's very much, I told Ryan after this, so he saw this before me and then we saw it. And what's that?
Did you ever show him Demon Night?
No, I've never shown myself that.
It's Tales from the Crypt's first feature
feature
film.
film.
I've
Okay.
heard of it.
Go watch Demon
Okay.
Night, and then think about this
Okay.
movie.
And I told him, I'm like, you got to watch From Dusk Till Dawn. It does a very similar thing where you're watching one movie and then it turns into a different movie.
Go watch Demon Night.
Demon Night. Okay.
Yeah. So while this fight is going on, Smoke tells Sammy, "Go get Stack," and he was like, "All right." So he knocks on the door, and of course we see Hailee Steinfeld basically riding him, and he was like, "Nah, maybe not."
Yeah.
and like closes the door, and he goes
That's
back.
so funny. And he's like, I told you to go get him. He's,
He's
like,
like,
I'm not going alone.
I'm not doing it alone.
Yeah.
So he goes back, and Hailee Steinfeld is gutting, like ripping.
Yeah, her with her her mouth
oh,
on his
she's-
neck, pulling his.
Yeah. And what I like about this is the blood is not.
It's not CG. You know what I mean?
No.
Like this movie doesn't have that fake blood look to it that
It's
so
not,
many movies
it's
do
not,
now.
Yeah, Tarantino status.
Yes. Yeah. It is more like a realistic.
It looks realistic,
like,
yeah.
and we're referencing From Dusk Till Dawn, but like that's when they're ripping arms off, it's like spraying everywhere.
Yeah.
Like this is like you get a wound on your neck, you're going to just start leaking
Yeah,
blood.
it's very. Yeah, I like that they use a very realistic, practical looking, and they did a lot of shots practical. What's interesting is this wasn't all CG. Like Michael B. Jordan they had to keep the camera in the same place. And they had some other tricks, but like for a lot of the movie, they had to keep the camera stationary, and he had to film the same scene again without the camera moving.
Oh, interesting.
So they actually did the split kind of thing, so it was really practical.
Which I will say they don't use that a lot. Like most of those scenes where they're in scenes together
are on opposite.
they're on, or it's like it's over one of their shoulders, or they're off to the side. Like,
but they still use it's still like the split diopter. Maybe that's not the right word, but they still split it into two to where like if he's on the other side, the camera's stationary. So it's like he's really filming it, and so he had to act off of a tennis ball or no
Right.
one.
Like the Patty Duke show.
Yeah.
like the Patty Duke show,
Exactly
Just
like that. And so there were a couple other techniques. There were stand-ins in some scenes where they like mapped his face on, and they used a camera rig that had 7 cameras and captured every angle of his face. So he had to
Interesting.
act with this huge harness on and actually filmed him doing the scene.
I am really curious about like all that and just the behind the scenes.
Oh, I would love to
yeah.
watch it.
It's
And,
just-
and like he's such a good actor too. And Ryan Coogler was talking about it. And like I saw him with all these cameras, this rig or whatever. I'm like, how is he going to do this? But he's so good. Like he just was Michael B. Jordan. He
And
did
like
his
another
thing.
thing that I mean, I know it's still pretty fresh, but another thing a lot of folks have been saying about this is just the typical Oscar shunning of horror films.
Right.
They're
This
just
is another one where it's
could
like
could this be the one? Maybe.
I hope
I mean,
so.
we won't know.
Black
I guess,
Panther
until,
did it right for like the genre film, the superhero
Yeah.
movie. It got 3 Oscars.
Yeah.
And right. And
well,
best.
the Substance broke through.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this
true.
last year.
Very true.
So
This is a good enough movie that's like it feels almost art house. It's not, it's $100 million budget
it's
movie,
not,
but
yeah.
it still feels kind of like an art house movie to where I feel like voters, in the Academy might take it a little more seriously,
Maybe.
even though it has the horror element.
Right.
So
We should also say that Sammy has this love interest who they've been circling each other, and finally he goes down on her, which I thought was hilarious given the advice that he had gotten from.
He was thirsty. He just wanted the taster.
Which I thought was like, God, I was like, Jesus.
I'm guessing in that time that was like really not common.
Well, I think she even says she's like, I walked all the way here.
Right,
And he was
she
like,
does.
and
Well, and also maybe speaking of like sexual acts are uncommon because is it Stack earlier when he's talking to Cornbread and he's just like, maybe she'll even let you put your
Yeah.
pecker in her mouth. And
Oh
it's
man,
like,
when he said that, the
and
whole
everybody's
theater
like,
was like, oh my god.
oh.
things we take for granted. No.
Yeah. Running water.
Running water,
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Also-
I mean,
well, yeah, there's a scene where
you couldn't clean
yeah.
yourself
Well,
in
they
the
say
same
like
way you
even
can
in the
today,
beginning when Sammy's running back from the
Right.
field and he's
Yeah.
grabbing the water and she was like, don't use I gotta use
No,
that on
dry
the
you
Wash
out.
water.
Yeah.
yeah. So
So anyway, but she comes up covered in blood.
And Smoke just unloads,
lights her up,
like pulls 2 pistols.
I like
and
when it says it's not what it looks like.
It's
I always
not what
love,
it looks
I
like,
love
yeah.
that line when someone's just done something crazy.
This isn't what it looks like.
What
And
does this
so
look like?
she, of course, she gets up.
He gets 2 guns out though.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it was
that's
great.
a cool.
It was so cool.
That's a cool
That's a-
gangster
that's a
thing.
John
you know,
Woo- that's a John-
right.
yeah.
The 2 guns.
Yeah,
Very-
from the killer, the killer.
Yeah, killer. Yeah. No
Yeah.
doves though in this
No
one,
doves.
which was sorely missed.
Vultures and crows, though.
Yeah, they should have had
doves.
them fly away in a nice homage.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sequel.
Yeah, right. So she bolts, like she tears out of there.
Those
They
bullet wounds didn't
do anything. They stopped them. They stopped her though.
Slows him down.
Slows him down.
But doesn't kill him.
Doesn't kill him.
But she gets back up and he's like, "What the hell are you?"
And she runs out.
Yeah.
Like she takes off. So which I guess once she leaves, then they have to get permission to come
Yes.
back in.
Yeah, it's a one. You got to do
Yeah.
it each time.
Okay.
Oh, and also
There's no.
at
They
this-
don't stamp your hand on the way out.
Well, and
That's
at
because
this-
it's a nightclub. There's no
Yeah,
re-entry.
no
there's
re-entry.
re-entry.
That's
You gotta-
very
right.
standard.
Yeah.
Juke
Yeah.
joints invented that.
Yeah.
Like that's-
and also at this point, Cornbread leaves because he has
Yes,
to go.
he has to go take a leak.
and he has Slim Delroy Lindo's character
Sitting at the door.
Yeah.
Oh man, Delroy Lindo is so good in this
He's
movie.
great. He's so good. So they, Smoke's gal is kind of like, look,
Alice.
Thank you, Alice.
Yeah,
It's like,
he's
you-
dead.
He's dead. You have to leave him here. And he was like, I'm not taking him out. She basically, she knows. She knows what's
That
going
was-
on.
She's like, you unloaded on her, and
Right.
She
and she
got
got
up.
up.
And just
We
bolted.
have to get him outside. And
Yeah.
he's like, I'm not putting him outside. I'm not putting him outside.
So
and
they lock him in
they
that
end up
cupboard.
locking him in the
Yeah.
door. And so they all go back. They get everybody out. And then the dude that runs the store is like, I'm going to go get the truck. Like, it's going to be fine. We're going to be okay.
But his wife's still in there.
In there, yeah. So here comes Cornbread up to the door. And he's like, all right, I don't know what's going on, but can I go? Like, can I just get out of here? And they were just basically he tries to get back into the joint.
And
He's
they
being
tell
real
him,
polite. He's
Yeah.
like, would you
Oh, well, I
welcome me
need-
back in?
Well, I
they're
need
like,
to
what?
help out of what's going on.
And
in
Alice
here.
is like, no.
Yeah.
Like, this is not right.
And
Something
they're
about
like,
this is
why are
not right.
you? Like, you've been coming in and out of here all night. Why do you want to be welcomed in? He's like,
Now.
we just need to be polite to each other.
Right,
It's
right,
so,
right,
the
right.
performance is very funny, and it's very. I just love the way he played this.
Very much
so
so.
innocent, so nice and friendly.
And then Michael B. Jordan's like, no.
Yeah.
You're not coming back in here. Go.
He's like, "Can I
well,
get
can I
some
at least get
money?"
paid? And
Yeah.
like I do like this, where like his hand won't cross the
Right.
threshold. So Michael B. Jordan ends up reaching past the threat, and he grabs him. And of course, we see a full vampire, and Michael B. Jordan shoots him in the face, which I thought was like, well, we're off to the races
The
now.
effects
Like,
are
here we
really good in
go.
this movie. The violence and
Yeah.
the gunshot wounds and everything are really
yeah.
good.
So Cornbread gets up, and his face
He's
is
just
just
hanging
mangled.
off. Yeah.
And they get back in, and finally everybody's like, what the fuck is going on? Everybody's screaming.
And this is all like the rest of the movie is in this one location.
Yeah.
The whole movie builds and goes from scene to scene and location, gathering people. But once they get to the Juke joint, it's like this is the rest of the
That's it.
movie.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
stuck. They're trapped, being surrounded by vampires.
Yes.
until
And
sunrise.
Yeah.
Right.
If
You
you
just
can
gotta
make
hold
it,
them off.
if you can make
if you can make it.
Yeah, dead till daylight or whatever. Isn't that game? Dead until
Dead till-
till dawn.
Well, that's Evil Dead 2.
Well, one is Evil Dead, right? And then there's a game where you have to make it through the night to daylight.
yeah, you're right.
Dead till daylight, I think
that
is
what
the
it
name of it. Yeah.
So now we've got Michael B. Jordan. We've got Stack, who is now woken up, and he's in the.
Oh man, this scene where he shoves his knife, he's got like one of those brass knuckle knife type thing, and you see him using it on the snake in the beginning of the movie, and you see his like fast reflexes and everything. But like Smoke goes up to the door like after that, so he's stabbed his knife through the door. And there's a hole in there, and he puts his eye up to it. And I
like, what are you
love
doing?
the head fake of that because everyone in horror movie terms is waiting for it to go through someone's eye.
Right,
Like,
right.
That's just that creeped me out. It was
Very much
tense.
so.
But he's talking to him in there, and he's like, "I'm okay now.
Yeah,
like
I'm
no big
good."
deal." And he's like, "Dude, I saw you. You
Yeah,
were
you're
dead."
Literally,
not
your
okay.
neck is not there.
Well,
Yeah.
you can see the wound on his neck.
When they
He was
keep
like,
coming back,
oh no, it's
and doesn't
fine.
he cover it up? He's like, "Oh no, I'm fine now." And he
Well,
kind
that's
of
what I liked
or
about the Hailee Steinfeld
he puts
thing.
a vest on and like puts it up.
Is
yeah.
you don't like when they bit her in a way where you couldn't see because she was wearing like this.
It was a
late,
sneaky
like,
bite,
It was like
yeah.
a strappy kind of dress, and they bit her like on the back so she could cover it up
Yeah.
as she went in. So then there's a fight kind of happens, and Stack bolts and they throw garlic water on him.
Was that right?
I think that's
Sammy was at the door and he knocks it down, right? Like
Yeah.
knocks
and then
it over
she
on
throws
him.
garlic water on
Okay.
him.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he
yeah.
takes off
Yeah.
and he gets out.
Pickled garlic.
Pickled garlic.
Yeah.
Which again,
That's
a
funny when that
scene
comes
right
back.
out of The Thing.
Yeah.
Like this is
Ryan Coogler said The Thing was a big inspiration. He said
I
From
could
Dusk
see
Till
that.
Dawn was a
Yeah.
big inspiration. Also, what was the other one? Was it it was another John Carpenter movie. I'm trying. What are other?
I also
What connection did you make? There was one other John
Salem's
Carpenter.
Lot, but that's Toby
No,
Hooper.
there was.
Assault on Precinct 13.
It might have been
Yeah, I can
Assault
see
on
Assault,
Precinct.
Assault on Precinct 13
I think.
makes 100%.
Because I mean, they're trapped in a building.
I think
hanging
that's
off the
yeah.
boards.
Yeah,
That's what I
true,
was gonna
yeah.
say. I think that was the
That
one.
makes
yeah.
sense.
I was gonna say, I also wonder if, which I'm sure with him being who he is, Ryan Coogler, there's a very indie '70s horror film called Ganja and Hess. That's a horror flick, and it's like the same premise basically, and it's just like about going back to Africa and ancestralness, and there's like there's blood that the scientist comes back with, and of course somehow it gets spilled, and this guy has to survive off of it, and he's just basically finding bodies to thrive.
Oh, okay.
So,
Wow.
yeah,
Never heard of
and-
that one.
Yeah, and it's from like I think High Point just had a free showing of it. Like
Oh,
a few months
wow.
ago.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this is again, there's a body in the room, and they can't figure out
Like in the
like,
kitchen or
yeah,
something.
they're like, who killed this guy?
It looks like blood is all over the ground.
But nobody bit him.
Well, they don't know what the girl ran away.
It wasn't blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, it wasn't. They thought
No,
it was.
because remember when Slim, when they each eat cloves of garlic.
Yeah.
So they're just like, okay, we know who is who, and Slim's had one too many Irish beers that night,
Yeah.
so he kind of has a bit of a reaction to it. And I believe that's when they find out, like they see on the floor.
Yeah.
Well, he goes to the floor because they
he
throw him out and they're like, wait a minute. And then he goes down and tastes it. And he's like, that wasn't
That
blood.
wasn't
And
blood.
then they cut to the guy waking up outside.
Right.
He's like, let me in. So
Oh, that's
it wasn't
right, that's
blood.
right. Okay,
but I
okay,
think
okay.
that they could have thought that one of the vampires just got him at some point when they
Right.
didn't see it. They
Right, right,
presumed
right.
he was bit.
But at this point now, he's, like you said, waking up, and he's
Yeah.
at the door, and Cornbread
here comes Cornbread.
is like, okay.
He's like, I paid my tab.
And then the Asian shop owner, the husband that went to go get the car, he walks up and he's like, "Let me in." And then his wife's like, "There's a guy killing him right down there." He's like,
like,
"Oh yeah,
"Oh,
no
yeah,
big
man,
deal."
that's-
It's so
that's-
nonchalant.
that's weird.
Yeah, where you're like, okay, that would freak normal people out.
yeah,
So-
right.
Now, do the rest of them come to at this point?
So
Because-
at this point, you start to see it's a great shot because it's like above the juke joint. There's enough lighting where you can see like where the
eyes
cars
and-
are. No, you start to see them kind of start to like pile in.
yeah.
I love that scene where he's doing like the Irish jig thing,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the
And they're-
Irish dance,
and they're all kind
that
of, like,
music.
around
That
him.
was that one and the Oner type shot were my favorite scenes. I saw them all performing, dancing around,
Yeah.
and you see Stack, you see Cornbread, like all the new vampires have joined them, and they're all doing this dance and sync.
Yeah.
It was just like
It was wild.
chilling
It's like,
and.
this is flat out a musical now.
Yeah, right. Which it was just weird enough. I'm like, this is cool. Like, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. I
It
thought
was also
musical
very
too.
unnerving.
Yeah, right,
Like,
right.
see-
Because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
disturbing. You see all the new vampires that were our good guys have now joined them, and they're doing this like
Right.
ritualistic cult-like thing. And yeah, I was phenomenal.
So we
And
get this is where the husband's like, just let me in. Like if you don't let us in, we're gonna go after your daughter.
Yeah.
And so the mom is freaking out, and finally they're just like, shut. Like we're gonna be like, we just gotta make it till dawn. And she's like, and then what? Like then what happens? So they decide like the mom is freaking out. We get the circle of trust where they all kind of eat the garlic. So we've got the gal that Sammy was interested in is like refusing to eat the garlic.
Yeah.
You've got Delroy Lindo who's having a reaction to the garlic. And I do like that Smoke is kind of, Sammy's like, hey, like don't, like she just doesn't want to eat it. And,
Yeah.
and Smoke's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and like punches Sammy in the face.
Oh yeah, I
He's like,
forgot about that.
like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to protect you here. Like this is, Smoke understands.
I like that's a good red herring though of her like not wanting to eat it, and then she eats, and you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? But
Nothing.
she's just like, this is gross,
gross.
you know. And I like that she's like, you didn't have any of the pickled
Pickled
ones
ones?
left.
That's a
Like,
good line.
she had to
That's
eat
a- that's a
straight
good
dry
line.
garlic.
Like, that's a good
cloves.
line.
Like, yeah.
So
And also at this, like, I don't know yet if they all, because that's where I was a little bit confused because it seemed like they all eventually just say, okay, well, okay, we're coming in now.
Well, no. So what
No,
happened? No.
the-
So what
the
happened?
shopkeep.
They basically Alice says stakes to the chest, silver.
She's got all the
holy
through all of
water,
the-
all this other stuff. Like this is what we can do. And they're just gonna gear up and wait. Well, the mom is like, Grace is like, I know.
Oh yeah,
She says
she's fed up. She's like, come in here.
She's starting to build a Molotov cocktail.
Right.
Alice is like, what are you doing? And then finally she's like,
Come get
and
some.
like, come in.
Yeah.
And then the doors kick open, and
And
this
the
is
Irish guy like hears it and he's like, game on.
yeah,
You know?
this is what I love is in any other movie, your team, right, is going to fight these guys off. That is not what happens here.
Yeah.
These vampires get in and just start slaughtering and there's no fight. Like there's no fight. They're knocking a couple of
I
them
mean,
off
there's a good. They hold their own for a bit though. I mean, yeah,
it's
not
a
how
bit of a
not how
sacrifice, though.
not how in a typical
no,
right?
not where the good guys all survive.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
I mean,
You've
yeah.
got Sex Machine and Fred Williams and George Clooney, and you've got like
sure.
a ragtag group of people who were fighting off
Right.
vampires and winning.
Yeah, no, I mean they put up a fight, but they're outnumbered and
They're
certainly
losing
don't-
quick.
yeah.
And one thing, I'm probably going to butcher exactly what he said, but I believe it was Slim. Delroy Lindo's character says is he's just like, like the devil this isn't the first time for me, this
Right.
is, he'll be knocking.
Which I thought was like an indication that he's a vampire.
Oh, interesting.
You know what I mean?
That,
like
yeah.
where he's like, this isn't the first time I've dealt with this.
Yeah.
Like, and I
or
was
he
like,
said something about like I had a woman before that bit me and
bit everything but the part that I wanted her to bite.
Yeah.
That's
And
funny.
but if I was thinking, when I rewatch this, I want to see where he's sitting, like at the train station. Like, is he sitting in the shade? But I guess he is in the car when they're driving
Yeah,
down
it
the
is in
road.
daylight.
So it's
and
not.
he eats the garlic and doesn't
that's
actually
true,
get
yeah.
destroyed.
but he goes, I mean, quite frankly, goes out, he's like, he takes a bottle, breaks it, and slashes over
He
his
kind of
arm.
knows that like his days are numbered.
Yeah.
He's
He pulls
older.
a,
He's not going to survive.
And he's telling Preacher Boy, because he's believing like the reason why all this is happening is because of me, and
Right,
all of
right,
He's
right.
just
Yeah.
like, no. That's
So he lures
not.
them
Well, he
all
says
in.
he was like, even the head vampire is like, we just want Sammy. Like,
Yeah.
that's all we want. If you just give him to us, like, we'll get out of here. But Delroy Lindo kind of goes out like the guy, the head bad guy in Day of the Dead, when in the one in the bunker when he opens this door and all of the zombies are there. Spoilers for Dawn of the Dead. But like they start tearing him apart, and he's
Yeah.
like, choke on it, and
Yeah.
like as they're literally tearing him apart.
Yeah.
And that's what this scene is, where he's basically Delroy Lindo's like, just take everything.
Yeah.
Grace, Annie, and Slim are killed.
Everybody dies. Alice ends up getting bit. This was the scene where I couldn't figure out what was going on. So Alice gets bit, and they had this moment earlier where she tells Smoke, she's like, look, if I go, like,
Kill me
you
before
have
I
to,
turn.
You have to
do.
promise me you're going to kill me before I turn. And he was like, it's not going to happen. She's like, you gotta. So he does it. But then there's a reaction from Mary and Stack
Yeah.
that
Because she was one of them. Like, so this is very much like a cult mentality where they're like, this is the thing about
but they
these
didn't.
vampires.
But nobody had that reaction when they were taking out any of their vampires. Those two
Well-
characters only had the reaction to Alice.
Well, I think that because I took it as like because of Alice's knowledge of the hoodoo and all this stuff, that she would probably be a good person to have on their team. They probably wanted her for her knowledge. But
Okay.
I also like it that like, okay, so these vampires, we talked about what is this like a metaphor for, like what are they trying to say with this? These vampires aren't like your typical bad guy vampires, right? Because they're like, we're trying to help you. We want you to live. Like they're trying to take out the clan, and they're trying to do this stuff where like they want you to be part of their cult, part of their family, right? And so I think it really hurt them when she died, and then also again for her knowledge and
Yeah.
stuff. But you know what I mean? There's a fine line. It's not like these vampires are here to destroy the world and be evil. They seem very nice. They're like, once we turn you, like we're family and we share our knowledge, and so there's so much more to it to say than just like these are the vampire bad guys. You know what I mean? I think this relationship,
I
like,
think there's something.
Never
to be said.
thought of it in that
They're
context.
They're definitely the bad guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
They're the bad guys.
but again, it's not a. I think it's more of a cult, and I'm not saying cults are good, but like the way that he
No,
presents
cults
it,
are not good.
but it's like almost like a family. Like he's trying to like
He is a cult leader trying to get
But I
people
think
into his cult.
I also think that like they're lying to them.
Yeah.
Like like
yeah,
when
you become basically a slave.
Right.
Once you're in the world,
Yeah.
there's no getting out of it.
There's no way to get out.
Well,
Yeah.
and a bit of a spoiler on real spoilers, but at the very end though, isn't it Stack that says, you can live eternally, like I can give you another, I don't know if he said like 20 something or
it can give you as much time as you want.
yeah, basically.
Well, right, yeah. I don't know. I just think there's a duality to it where, again, I mean, I know they're the bad guys to our good guys, but there's something about the leader and the way they were like trying to again give them longer lives, and they wanted to kill the clan members and the bad guys. I do think there's like
I think it's a level of the lead vampire is trying to seduce and
he'll say whatever
he can to get more people to join up, and then so I do like this where we get more backstory, where we find out that the boss hog that sold him this land he's like I don't know what the lead guy of the KKK is called, like
Grand Wizard.
the Grand Wizard of this sect of the KKK. He's like these two yahoos. They're like, they were coming. Like, this guy is his son. Like, the guy that the son that he killed in the beginning of the movie is his son. They were coming for you.
You were going to come kill you and take their place back anyway.
And they reference that earlier in the movie where one of the brothers is like, "What's all this on the floor?" He's like, "Did you?" And
they're like, "Did you just wash this?"
And why is this washed?
Yeah,
and he was just like, "Well, just
forgot about that."
And it's like, oh, like it's a killing floor. Like that's what it is. So. Now all hell is breaking loose, right? They kill Alice. We see that Mary and Smoke kind of run out, but Smoke comes back. We never see Mary again.
But Smoke kills Alice.
Smoke kills Alice.
He does keep his promise, and he like gets her through the heart. She hasn't turned yet, but she's bled out. She can't turn now.
Yeah. The girl smile or Sammy's
sorry, and I
girlfriend.
do want to touch upon with the baby though. She's like, I want to go, I'm ready,
somebody
and
waiting.
we'll see you
on the other
see you
side.
soon. Again, that whole storyline is really touching where it ends up.
Big time. The Sammy's girlfriend ends up getting bit, and we see that.
I wouldn't
later.
put a label on it. I wouldn't say they're a girlfriend.
That's true.
or boy.
The girl that he went down on.
Yeah. The woman.
The woman. You're right. Yes,
the
I should say.
interest.
She gets bit, and finally, there's a confrontation between Salt and Smoke. That's a barbecue joint here in town.
We know where we're going on this Easter after.
Smoke and Stack have a knockdown, drag out fight, and Smoke is losing. Like Smoke, you cannot fight these guys hand to hand. And there's a moment, and we don't see what is said, but something is said, and we just assume that Stack is killed in the process.
But Smoke is on top. He does get Stack
he's got
dead to rights.
He's got him dead to
but
rights, but we don't know.
Now, I also forget it maybe later that they referenced this part, but he said Stack or I forget. Smoke says something to Stack. It's like, I'm sorry I didn't protect you.
Yes, yeah. And he's basically, you did everything you could. Like, it's
you did our whole lives and all that. A really touching moment. But
and to give that some more context too, because they mentioned earlier before all the hits the fan about their father and how he was abusive and. They basically had to fend for themselves.
Yeah, we should say that Sammy is the cousin of Smoke and Stack. He's their cousin. Their dads were brothers.
And the guitar that Sammy has,
we come to find out is the dad's guitar.
Yeah, but he tells him it's Charlie Patton's.
Charlie Patton's guitar.
Told it was something else. Yeah.
So
that guitar's a cool looking guitar.
It is cool.
Is it not? Like,
very much so.
That is a cool vampire hunting slaying guitar, man.
So Smoke tells Sammy, "Get out of here! Like, don't run or don't stop running until it's daylight." Well. Sammy doesn't get very far. He ends up fighting. He ends up running into the water, which is a kind of a vampire thing, which I was like, oh, they can't cross running water.
Definitely with that, but I also was very much thinking about like
baptism. It was totally baptism.
The
vampire's trying to baptize him into their...
See, what I thought was going to happen, as we see earlier in the movie, we see that Preacher Boy knows his scripture front and back, right?
And they start doing the Lord's Prayer.
I thought he was going to make that water holy water.
That would have been cool.
While he had the vampire in the water, he blesses the water, and now he's got a lake of holy water
cool.
that nobody can touch him. That's not what happens.
Yeah.
But yes, he does start saying the Lord's Prayer.
And in a really creepy way, the Irish vampire starts saying it too.
Reciting
back and nails too.
Oh man, he gets the traditional.
He starts to become like this
claws,
awful looking vampire, and
that's not very nice.
Well, it's true.
Not all vampires look great.
This one does not look good. This one's had a rough go.
Sorry, Skarsgård.
You can see again, it's super slick. Where like they don't mention it, but in the background you can see the sun starting to come up. So
this is one of those movie things though, where I'm like, man, they never keep track of when that sun's coming up.
Well, we don't know. We don't know how long they
I don't
were.
have digital watches back then.
Yeah,
I know,
We don't
but
know
if
what
you're a
time they-
vampire, it's the same problem with Nosferatu. Like, well, I mean, he was a little distracted. Nosferatu,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's that whole thing where it's like, this is your thing. This is what you do. You literally go back every time before the sun comes
Think
up
about
and
your
like,
internal alarm clock.
yeah,
but I
right.
mean, I guess I know he was so hell bent on getting Sammy that maybe
Yes.
that but it's just like, oh man,
much like
and-
Nosferatu,
And everyone else is like congregated by the
hive mind
water too. Yeah,
like
yeah.
they're
Yeah.
all. So Sammy takes the guitar and he smashes it over
And
the
it's
guy's
silver,
head. Yeah,
right?
so
It's a vampire
there's a
thing.
piece of the guitar, like the centerpiece of the guitar, is like a silver disc,
Yeah.
and it gets stuck in his head, and all of the I almost called them zombies, but like all of the vampires
feel it.
react
Yeah.
to that.
and
also
I love
his
that.
reaction to the
Yeah. And I knew the guitar looked cool, but I did not predict that it would be like a silver part. I thought that was a really
I thought
cool.
that since it was.
I thought it was gonna be the neck of the guitar was a stake.
Yep.
Yeah, me
That's
too.
what
When
yeah,
he
I
was
thought
carrying it around, it was broken. I thought
the
it was a
fact that he
mistake,
had
yeah.
kept it with him the entire time, I was like, well, this is going to come into place
It was
somehow.
cool. It was cool. And then the sun comes up.
Well,
and
and then here we see a stake come through the back of the
true.
guy,
Yeah.
and we see it's a great shot where like the camera pans around, and you see Michael B. Jordan's smoke behind him, and then the sun comes up, and all of the vampires get lit up.
really
and
cool
they all
visuals
burn.
and the embers going up.
Yeah, it was
and-
very cool.
well, you also, it's funny too. You see that in the beginning with I forget her character's name, but the wife, the Asian couple.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she's burning because she basically goes out. She has that Molotov cocktail, but I don't really know if I caught who was that. Was that her husband?
Her husband.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
They
yeah.
get burned together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she like she
Oh,
didn't
man,
move.
she-
Nope,
They
she stayed right
were-
on him.
Yeah.
Stayed right on him until they were both nothing but ash.
Yep.
So Michael B. Smoke tells Sammy, he's like, look, get in the car, go home.
Yeah.
It's like, I got something I got to do
I
first.
love that this is what he does. This reminds me very much of like an Inglorious Bastards type
Absolutely.
scene. It's like, the audience wants to see this. This is great.
So
So
the clan
Rooster,
clan
whatever,
shows
fuck.
up, and
And
Michael
also at this point, you see what's in the trunk too, right? Because they don't really.
yes, it's like a 50 caliber machine gun
he's
and
got
all
Tommy
kinds,
gun.
all
Tommy
kinds
gun,
of. He's
yeah.
ready to go.
Yep.
And we
Straight
see-
Edward G. Robinson.
Yeah,
it's cool.
The clan shows up,
Yeah.
and then using the skills he learned in the war.
So he's out in the woods, so they're knocking on the door of the sawmill.
He's like,
it's
nobody's
locked.
here.
And then all of a sudden you hear poof, poof, and it
he's
starts
one
taking
by
them
one.
starts
out.
picking them off.
And when he runs out of those 50 cal sniper bullets or whatever, he goes and digs out like the machine,
got, like,
the
a
Tommy
trench.
gun.
All
Yep.
this war.
Picks up-
He has a grenade.
Oh, yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very much like a Nazi killing scene, but for the
Yeah.
clan. And
Uh-huh.
it's great. The audience got a great
He
reaction.
kills
everyone.
everyone.
Takes them all out. Well, he doesn't
And-
quite kill Foghorn.
No, he does.
Well, not
yeah.
yet.
Oh,
not
that's
yet.
true. That's true.
He
yeah,
kills
he takes,
them all,
he
and
takes
he's
a shot.
dragging around.
He takes a shot to the gut. Smoke does, and he's like you said, dragging. Still killing everybody.
Yeah.
And he ends up sitting down. It's a very touching scene where we see Alice and the baby
In white.
together in white. And very stark
Thought
white.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Symbolism.
And
He's
he-
like right. He's about to cross over. He's not there yet.
Yeah,
Right. He's
she
in
said-
between.
She asks if he wants to, can I hold the baby? And she lets him do that. And then we hear the voice of Foghorn Leghorn, and he was just like, I've got money.
money.
And he was just like, man, no.
Well, at first he says some nasty
He does
stuff
say
to
some.
him.
Yeah, he
You know,
drops some
yeah,
foul language.
and he's egging him on. But then I think he realizes like, oh, I'm dead. No,
yeah,
save me.
and then he ends up taking that Tommy gun and
Well,
Finish
he
him off.
unloading.
on the rest of the clip, he's like, I don't want this to go to waste.
And then we flash back to the beginning of the movie where Sammy is back at the church, and the dad's like, drop the guitar and come back. And you never see him drop the guitar. Like it's kind of Nolan-esque where did the top wobble or did it not wobble?
Yeah.
And then there's
But he drives away, so
We don't know
does. Wait, they done to show him drive away after that?
Not,
think
I don't
so.
think at that. No, I don't think
Oh.
at that part.
I thought that you do see him driving away
Maybe
with
we
his
do.
guitar in the car after
Post-
the church,
I
like he
think-
chose.
Are those the post credits?
I don't know. I remember it being like holding on. I'm like, oh, they're not going to tell you. And I thought the next scene literally cut to him driving away with the guitar. He chose his music
Maybe,
and stuff.
maybe.
I don't know. Maybe I wrote that in my own head.
Yeah, it could. You could be right.
But then we flash forward in the
To
post
what,
So
19
post
credits
credit
hit. And then-
1993.
Well, 1992 or it's like what?
92.
Is it
70
92?
years later.
It's
or-
60 because it starts in
Yeah.
32.
Okay, and Buddy Guy
Yeah.
is doing his thing, and we see like the big
Three claws.
so we know who this guy is. The club is finishing up. Guy comes to the door and he was like, "Hey, there's two more people out here that I told them no, but they
Let me
offered
see.
me $200,
Yeah.
which is the 2 gold shillings that they had earlier. He's like, do you care if they come in? And he was like, no, I don't care. And then in walk a very 90s.
Oh my, the sweater and the glasses on Michael B.
Hailee
Jordan. I loved it.
Steinfeld and
It's like
Marion.
the hairdo.
She's like
and the-
leather with her hair
Marion,
up. And,
Marion Stack walk into the room.
Yeah.
He
It's
looks like he
great.
just stepped off the set of a different world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that or in living color.
yeah, very much.
And also, he's wearing one of his rings. It's like every
Yeah.
finger. It's just says
It's a
stack.
stack. I
and
love that.
Got the
It's-
dollar sign on
Right.
it. I was
They
like,
must
good
have had so
Lord.
much fun designing the 90s version of
Yeah.
these characters.
And we find out that Smoke didn't kill him. Like
Yeah.
he says, he's like, I'll let you go, but you leave this kid
yeah.
alone.
He said, "You gotta stay away from Sammy."
And he was like, and okay. And we did see Hailee Steinfeld's Mary run off into the
Yeah,
woods.
so come to find out, they both got away. And I like this because, okay, so he does keep his promise. He stays away from Sammy, but also Sammy isn't going to live that much longer.
Right.
So I think
Tells
this is his last chance where he's like, and this is where a sequel might come in because it's like he, I think, still wants to unlock this power that Sammy has, and this is his last chance.
Right.
So he doesn't come kill him. He keeps his promise, but he's trying to recruit him.
Oh yeah, big time.
But
And
Sammy's like, I'm good.
Don't see them building an entire movie around the acting
I think-
prowess of Buddy Guy.
No, that's fair. I think.
Like-
I think it'd be in the meantime.
Or
It'd
if you
be
get
like-
Sonny after like the aftermath of that or something.
Sammy,
because
yeah.
he even says, like, does he? I think he asked him a question. He's like, every now and again, I'll still wake up, and it seems like it's.
He says it was the up until nightfall. That was the best day of
my life. Yeah,
That was
Yeah.
cool. Where he's like, everyone was free for that few hours or whatever, and you
Yeah.
see everyone dancing together. The
that
couples
shot
are
of
together.
Smoke and Stack together watching that sunset
man.
too
Yep.
was.
And he asks him. He was like, "Do you feel the same way?" He's like, "Yeah."
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
the
do.
last time I
Yeah.
saw my brother.
Last time I saw the
Oh,
sunset,
man.
like last time, yeah.
That's where it's like,
Man, it got you in the feels. That again, Coogler is writing, man, and
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan gives a hell of a performance
Oh, yeah.
throughout this entire thing. But
And
Really like
so
that.
I think the sequel is you've got these 2 vampires. We still have Native American vampire
Yeah.
hunters.
for 60 years, what were they
So
doing?
where
I think,
are we?
Or the prequel. I love the idea of the Native American vampire
Mm-hmm.
hunters and like how they discovered vampires and this Irish guy where he came from.
Yeah.
Like you could tell a ton of stories.
There's all kinds of stories.
I agree. Going forward, there's probably not as much, but there's that whole 60 years or before of like,
You've got all kinds of things you can tell.
Yeah. I don't think it needs it. Now, let me say
Yeah,
that.
no.
This movie's phenomenal, and like, I don't want them to make a cash grab. It's got to be a good story.
Right.
I feel like Coogler would only
And-
do it if there was.
And even if you did do a sequel with it, I feel like there's so many historical relevant events that you
Yeah.
could tie it to. You could tie it to civil rights even, and just kind of like, there's always going to
What
be
was
that
the
villain. And
what was
Yeah.
the tragedy that's referenced in Watchmen, the TV show?
Black
Tulsa-
Wall Street. Or
Oh,
whatever.
is it Tulsa?
The Tulsa massacre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's a part that
Yeah.
And that's and Stack kind of says, "I love you," like,
Yeah.
see you later, and they walk out the door, and Mary's like, "Bye, little Sammy," and
Mm-hmm.
they leave, and that's Buddy Guy is left there, just been like, "Holy, like that was close."
Yeah, when they first cut to Buddy, I was like, "Is that Buddy Guy?" And I was like, "I'm like, okay, that's cute, but like, why would they cast Buddy Guy for
Right.
just playing guitar over the credits?" I'm like, that just seems kind of like, and then I was like, "Oh, okay,
It's
we're getting the whole
old
thing.
man- old
that
man-
makes
old
sense.
man Sammy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a cool scene.
Yeah. And then the post credit, there's one at the very end of the credits where it's just
Oh, I didn't
it's-
stay
is there?
again.
I
I
didn't
figured
see-
this
so,
was
but
the-
it's not. It's just Sammy playing guitar.
Okay.
And it's before
Young
the
Sammy or
yeah
old-
young Sammy,
okay.
and it's before the attack because he doesn't have
Okay.
the scratches or
Gotcha.
anything. It's just him playing.
Oh, okay. Because I was
song.
like, dang, because Ryan told me to stay, and I did. And I thought that was the one.
one.
I
No,
was
it
like,
is
yeah.
funny that Ryan Coogler, who has done Marvel
Marvel,
stuff,
right?
he was like, "I got you,
Yeah.
I got." But it's also what I like about that is where Marvel uses it. Well, they used to use it as like, "Hey, this is what's coming."
right,
Ryan Coogler here uses it as an epilogue,
right.
and like it doesn't have to go anywhere, but it is like a solid ending to
Yeah.
everybody's story. That's not, guess
I think
what's
that
coming
ending
next.
elevates the movie.
Absolutely,
for
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is absolutely incredible. I'm sure there will be something throughout the year that will raise to this level.
Yeah.
But
this is maybe the best movie of the year
I mean,
so
easily.
far. Though.
innovative,
Easily.
very creative.
Yeah, this is great. And I do want to mention Ludwig Göransson did the score for it and the music.
he did great.
He did Oppenheimer, he did Tenet, he did Black Panther.
So there is a Nolan connection there.
Yep,
after
there
all.
is. There's Creed 2. He obviously is a great composer, and it's a great looking movie too. I didn't recognize the cinematographer. Autumn Durald Arkapow. I'm not familiar with the name, but she actually did Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Okay.
Did some Loki episodes, but it's a really good looking movie.
Yeah, it's a great looking movie.
Yeah.
This is incredible. I
this is
cannot
fun.
recommend this enough. It's so good. So good.
Yeah, I think it had like a 98% on Rotten
It's the
Tomatoes
first
last time I checked.
I saw that it's the first horror movie to ever score an A with Cinema Score.
Wow.
Yeah.
Something I did think that was a little funny was the guy to the left of me at the very end stated something like Shameik Moore has never lost a row or wanted a row more, and I was just like, oh geez.
That's very funny.
Yeah, I thought that was like, oh man, okay.
Okay, well,
So
I
there you go.
guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find them.
This is Joe. You can follow me on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on Threads, and Letterboxd at the Joey. No, wait.
Why do you keep doing that?
At Joey Butts BTTS21 hashtag.
At ampersand.
Yeah.
This is Kevin. Follow me on Twitter at Kevin R. Brackett.
And Orlandez, where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram simply as Orlandez, just at Orlandash. Yeah, Orlandash. I'm gonna put it.
It's so
S
simple,
in
and
my
then you
name
still
now.
screw it up.
Yeah, there you go. Find me somewhere. I'm around.
And you can find me on Blue Sky or Threads at Tom O'Keefe Jr. or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. Find the show online at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, don't forget our Patreon. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, Eugene beats Butler.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, 'cause we already warned you.